live presentation of CBC Sports.
The road to the Grey Cup is winding down. Destination Calgary. And only 4 teams remain. The road runs through Calgary today. This is McMahon Stadium, where the Stampeders and Eskimos will try to conquer the weather in the West Final. And here in Winnipeg, the Bombers and Ticats meet to decide the East. Recent history says the Bombers own the Cats. A year ago, they buried Hamilton in the East Final. And there's no question who the underdog is today. This season, the Bombers have handled the Cats with ease, winning 3 games by a combined score of 136-32. But the Bombers are nervous. After all, David slew Goliath in the end. And last week in a playoff victory, the Cats got leadership from a comeback quarterback. Todd Dillon has given Hamilton renewed confidence.
Hopefully it's because that they sense a chance that they can win. You know, that the offense is going to give them a chance, and that we're going to score points. And, you know, I think there's a confidence for each other now, where before they might not have had it. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't here.
For the first time this season, the Bombers will not have Matt Dunnigan detain the Cats. The ball's been handed to Sammy Garza. The East Final is his to win or lose. It will be the game of his life.
Oh, I would say this is a very important game for me and for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You know, we coming into this game, we know, of course, we have a 14-4 record, and a lot of people here in Winnipeg and across the league expect Winnipeg to advance to the Grey Cup.
On paper, the East Final is lopsided, but on the field, it could be close. Well, the big news here in Winnipeg is we're heading for the end of November, and until about 10 minutes ago, there was no snow on the ground. So won't that make the winter seem a lot shorter for Winnipeggers, as would 2 more wins by the Bombers. Welcome to Winnipeg and to Final Sunday on the CFL on CBC. The day begins here with this David and Goliath matchup of the 14-4 Bombers and 6-12 Ticats. As soon as we've declared a Grey Cup finalist here, we'll go to Calgary, where the Stamps and the Eskimos will decide the other. Mark Lee is standing by there for us. Mark, weather is a major factor in Calgary. Just the kind of conditions the Grey Cup champion Calgary Stampeders did not want.
You're not kidding, Scott. And you know, they say weather is the great equalizer in pro football, where they play as scheduled in this sport no matter what the conditions. And this is the inclement setting we have today. 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. It's minus 18 degrees right now. The winds are gusting 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. That makes it feel like it's minus 32 degrees. These work crews have been out here for about 2 to 3 hours already this morning, trying to clear the snow drifts off the field at McMahon Stadium and get the snow out of the stands. The experts say that this should favor the team with the best running game, and that's Edmonton, but I'm not sure these slippery conditions will help anybody. You can be sure, as you mentioned, that Doug Flutie and the pass-happy Stampeders cannot be too happy with what they're going to face today. And these guys need a hand out here, so I'm going to draw on my years of experience as a youth shoveling driveways in Ottawa and get out there and give them a hand. We'll see you at the half.
Okay, Mark, and as I say, it started to snow here about 10 minutes ago, so excuse us. Started to snow here about 10 minutes ago, so start driving now. We could use the tractor here by halftime. This game in the East could come down to which quarterback rises to the occasion. Sammy Garza's had 5 years with the Bombers, and today he finally gets a chance to put an end to all those cheap shots that he's here just because he is the general manager's son-in-law. This was Sammy arriving at the park today with wife Barbara. Todd Dillon and the Ticats arrived at the stadium a few hours ago, and they fully realize what a big story they're sitting on, an upset of the Bombers, which is possible mostly because Todd Dillon, just a few weeks out of retirement, has given the Ticats proficient quarterbacking. In the booth at Winnipeg Stadium to describe the proceedings in this East Final, here are Don Whitman and James Curry.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everybody. James, based on past performance going back to last year's Eastern Final, the Bombers have to be favored, outscoring Hamilton 195-43. But John Gregory, the Hamilton coach, made a most relevant comment yesterday when he said they can't put those points in the bank. Thank goodness.
And Don, you're so right on that situation, because this is a new season this afternoon. You got Todd Dillon, who the Ticats had at quarterback for their past 2 games. The Bombers has not seen him all year, and Coach Gregory feels very confident with him at the helm.
And without a quarterback and without much of an offense early in the year, the defense was on the field an awful lot. They were tired out in some games. They're getting an opportunity now with Todd Dillon directing an offense, but they will still have to stop Michael Richardson today.
They have to stop Michael Richardson, but Todd Dillon has given this defense a lot of chance to rest in recent games, and that is the key when you're getting into crunch time like this afternoon, and it's going to be very important that Dillon can give them a little extra rest period this afternoon in this game. Richardson
has owned the Ticats over the last 2 seasons, and they well remember that in the Eastern Final last year, he ran for 227 yards. The Ticats, if they hope to move to the Grey Cup, will have to stop Michael Richardson today. Scott?
Often by November 21st, the deep freeze taken over in Winnipeg. It may just have arrived today, and the wind will have a profound effect on this East Final. Stand by. The Bombers and Ticats are set to decide who goes to the Grey Cup. Away from kickoff in the East Final. Ticats haven't got much support at Winnipeg Stadium, but they've got a fair amount at Cops Coliseum in downtown Hamilton, where at least a few thousand fans have gathered to watch the Cats and Bombers on big TV screens. It should heat up there if Hamilton stays in this game. And Don, imagine the reaction if the Cats pull off the upset and go to the Grey Cup.
Well, there are a lot of people wearing Hamilton colors who think that the Ticats are capable of upsetting the Blue Bombers, including the head coach, John Gregory. He has been very pleased with the performance in the past 2 games of Todd Dillon. Dillon was finally persuaded to return to the Ticats in a conversation Gregory had with him on October the 28th. And while he lost the final regular season game to the Ottawa Rough Riders, he led the Ticats to victory over the same Riders last week in the Eastern semifinal. Paul Osbaldiston preparing to kick off. Boyko and Blaze Bryant are back. Boyko will field it at the 35. Boyko looking for some room, and he dives through to the 51. Good field position for Sammy Garza and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The first series for Sammy Garza. This is his 3rd start as a quarterback. He, of course, had to take over after Matt Dunnigan was sidelined in the Sacramento game with a torn Achilles tendon. And Garza's numbers are pretty good, James.
They are. You know, Sammy has come in, and like you said earlier, he's silenced a lot of critics. He's a pretty stable quarterback. He's gotten the job done. He hasn't posted the big numbers, but he's been consistent.
Garza will throw over the middle to Johnstone on the screen, and Johnstone is going to get a first down to the 45 of Hamilton. Something the Bombers felt they had to do was get a quick jump on the Ticats. They didn't want to give them any confidence. Michael Richardson and Chris Johnstone, the running backs. Blaze Bryant is also dressed, and he could see some action as a running back and as a pass receiver. Alfred Jackson is in one wide-out position. The Bombers with 17 All-Stars. This has been a very explosive football team, but Richardson is not going anywhere, wrapped up by Bates. And we talked at the opening about the Hamilton defense. They have not spent as much time in the field in the last few games, and the front 4 in particular had a solid performance against the Ottawa Rough Riders in the semifinal last week. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers expect to see Bobby Dawson, as he did against Ottawa, blitzing a lot from his defensive back position. Cofield is after Garza, got it away just in time, and David Williams has a first down to the 27-yard line.
That is one of the things that the Bombers are going to have to do, be able to slow down that rush up front by the Hamilton Ticats. We saw in the first play of the game where he came with the screen pass to Chris Johnstone. Right here, he rolls left, sets up in the pocket, and he delivers the ball before Cofield can get to him, and Jackson had set down right in the soft spot in that zone, was able to pick up the first down.
First and 10 Winnipeg from the 27-yard line. Handoff inside to Richardson, and Richardson is going to pick up a couple of yards before being driven back.
Well, he's going to find tough treading up front this afternoon. Jeff Fields and Ramel Andrews, the 2 tackles for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, have been playing outstanding football the last 2 football games. And this afternoon, they're going to need a big push from those guys up the middle if they expect to get to Sammy Garza.
Richardson missed the first 3 games of the season. He made his debut on July 29th against Hamilton. He ran for 89 yards in the game at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Over the head of David Williams. So the Blue Bombers on 3rd and 8 will send out the field goal unit, and Garza is a little disappointed with himself as he heads off to the sidelines. He had Williams open, but he overthrew the target.
Well, that's one he'd like to have back. He had David Williams working on that quick slant where he had gotten that inside position on Corus Irvins. You can see him wide open. Garza just let that one get too high on him. That's what happens, Don, when you have that sidearm release. That ball will float on you.
Troy Westwood, who had a career season, will attempt to put the Bombers on the board first. His field goal kick is good. A 32-yarder for Troy Westwood, and the Bombers, with 12:17 remaining in the opening quarter, enjoy a 3-0 advantage.
Well, it was very important that Sammy Garza could come downfield, establish himself early, set a precedence that he can move this offense. And that's what he did. He moved the ball downfield. He got points out of it. That was the key, not creating a turnover.
The forecast for today has called for flurries. We have had a couple of squalls pass through the Winnipeg Stadium area, but we don't expect any large accumulation of snow. Dillon quickly inside, and Canebrere has a first down up to the 46-yard line.
That's what Dillon does so well. He reads the defense very quickly, the quick slant, and he caught Canebrere on the first down play.
Todd Dillon has passed for 3 touchdowns and had 1 pass intercepted.
And Don, when you look at that 3 touchdowns, the starting quarterback for Hamilton at the start of the season only threw 6 all year long.
From the 46-yard line, Dave Donnell is the ball carrier, and he's dropped for a loss of about 1. Donnell had a 34-yard touchdown run in the semifinal win last week over the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he has replaced Perkins at the running back spot. They were forced to make an adjustment along the offensive line, dressing an import up front, Rob Wallow, playing the offensive tackle position because Dave Richardson and Pete Giftopoulos went down. Pardon me, I said Pete Giftopoulos. I meant Mike Jovanovic went down. Tackle made by Vaughn Booker, and Hamilton has stopped short of the first down.
Well, that Bomber defense is stepping up. Vaughn Booker right there. They need a big game from Vaughn. He's been inconsistent for most of the season, but this is playoff time right now. This is where the true players are going to step up and have those big days. They're able to stop Dillon short of a first down on that run and going to force Osbaldiston to punt into the wind.
It'll be interesting to see how Osbaldiston handles the wind. He was having difficulties in warm-up.
Well, the key is not to get that ball high. You want a line drive and get a tight spiral on it if you're going to have any success on that today.
He gets away a pretty good kick. Harold Brown takes it at the 30-yard line, and Brown is down to almost immediately at the 32 by Paul Bushy, a 29-yard punt. Following Paul Osbaldiston's 29-yard punt, there was a bit of a scuffle after the whistle, and Terry Wright was flagged for a face mask violation, and that really upset John Gregory because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have improved their field position up to the 47.
Well, emotions will fly in games like this, and Terry Wright needs to be under much more control than that in this game.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 47-yard line. Garza with time. Throws into the hole, the ball comes loose, and it's a live ball as Gerald Alphen had it knocked away from him, and Hamilton's Terry Wright comes up with it.
Well, Terry Wright atones himself for that bad penalty on that previous play, but a great hit by Corus Irvins on that to separate Alphen from the football. You're going to see Alphen right here working down. He sets down in that soft spot of the zone. He breaks, and Bobby Dawson comes up and just levels him. And Terry Wright is able to pick up the football, and the Ticats have it at the 48-yard line. Great field position.
1st and 10. The Ticats at the Winnipeg 48. They trail 3-0. Over the middle, the pass is complete to Dave Donnell, and he's got a first down to the Winnipeg 35-yard line.
Dave Donnell is that type of back that you really don't have a key on what he does. He comes out of the backfield. You see Dillon getting the pressure up front. He's able to slide outside of Peyton. Donnell is sitting right there where the linebackers are vacated, but he wraps that football up, more importantly, with the two hands before being knocked down at the 35-yard line.
1st and 10, Hamilton. 9:30 remaining in the opening quarter. Dillon for Earl Winfield, and he is able to hang on. He was fortunate that he was able to pull that ball back as he had Ken Phillips and Greg Battle on him.
What Earl Winfield, when you look at him, you know, he's the big play guy. And you look at the defensive lineup here, Booker, Mikolas, and Lewis up front. But Randolph, Battle, Clark, and Peyton, these are the guys that will control the tempo defensively for Winnipeg this afternoon, with Phillips, Sampson, Brown, Evans, and Smith in the secondary.
Rare was the man who was trying to go down the sidelines. He had been knocked down by Kim Phillips, and that resulted in a penalty flag. Dillon threw the ball into an open area. It's interesting that Ken of Rare caught 41 passes this year, but not one of them for a touchdown.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Number 30 on the defense. It's 1st down.
Well, Sampson, working one-on-one against Avrere down that right sideline, knew that he had been beat by Avrere, and it was better for him to just take the interference, knocking him down instead of allowing a touchdown. They only pick up 15 yards on the penalty.
Inside handoff to Dave Donnell, and he'll pick up about 3 yards.
Von Booker stepping down. That's what you expect from your defensive ends when you're trying to get that inside running play going. And what he did was he was squeezing the corner. He was able to slide inside and make the tackle on Donnell for a minimal gain on the play.
Von Booker has been an interesting individual all year with the Blue Bombers. He's not one of those players who enjoys practicing.
I can feel for him in that situation, Don.
He comes up with a multitude of reasons why he doesn't have to be out in the practice field. Dillon trying to dump it off short, looking for Cornell Burbage. And it will be 3rd and 8 for the Ticats.
Well, Dillon got a little impatient in the pocket. Instead of setting his feet, allowing for the receiver to clear, he just kept sliding out, bouncing his feet. And when you do that, you don't get a chance to really get much on the football when you're trying to deliver it, and the ball fell short of Burbage on the play.
Osbaldiston will be attempting a 26-yard field goal. Even though he is kicking into the strong north wind, he should be able to handle this one okay. He puts it through, and the game is tied with 7:47 remaining in the opening quarter.
Sam Garza suffered from one thing in his 2 starts late in the season in place of Matt Dunnigan. It was too much advice. He was bombarded here in the huddle and on the bench. Everybody had advice about what he should do. Garza was on overload, so they fixed that problem today. Players tell me the huddle so far has been much more orderly, and Garza is taking his orders only from this man, offensive coordinator Mike Kelly, who's back in town after having been away for a month with his wife. Their baby underwent surgery. Don, Bombers are hoping a clear line of communication pays off.
Well, there was a clear line of communication on this play between Garza and Wilcox. The ball came loose, but I think the whistle had already gone. Garza is throwing the ball well. During the season, he completed 56% of his passes, and he has been delivering it well so far today.
Well, this afternoon, he needs to get the ball out to his wideouts, but he's working really hard to his slot backs, and those have been his main guys all year long. Well, the past 2 games since he's come in, mainly Gerald Wilcox has been his primary receiver. He's caught 12 passes in the last 2 games from Garza.
1st and 10 from the 52. Garza throws over the top to Gerald Wilcox again, and he's taken out of bounds at the 50-yard line by Bobby Dawson.
When you go back and talk about the situation, how Garza was bombarded from players on the field, you get into the huddle and you get to some of those veteran players feel that they have the game in their grasp, that they want to make the plays, and they come in, since Garza had been the new quarterback, telling him that I'm open all the time. And sometimes quarterbacks get irritated to that fact, and they'll look away from you more often than they'll look at you.
Cal Murphy had a simple answer to the question. He said the issue has been addressed. The toss to Richardson, and Richardson turns the corner for a 1st down to the 40 of Hamilton, taken out of bounds by John Moten. Richardson only had 3 100-yard rushing games this year, but James, he was saying that one of the reasons he didn't carry the ball enough.
Well, the speed option right here, you had Garza faking the ball at Johnstone, sliding to the tackle, getting the ball back to Richardson where he had time to square up and get turned upfield before being run out of bounds down at the 39.
First and 10. Jackson makes the catch, and he's got a first down to the Hamilton 22-yard line.
I think if there's any questions about Sammy Garza's arm strength, he answered it on that play, hitting Alfred Jackson out in the left flat. He threw that deep out route, and that's a very tough pass to complete. And you see Jackson going up for the ball, making that move away from the tackler Wilkerson, picking up extra yardage down to the 22-yard line.
Matt Dunnigan providing encouragement for Sammy Garza from the sidelines. First and 10, Winnipeg. Garza dumps it off, and Williams can't hang on. Williams was wide open. He could not squeeze it.
Well, that's what you'll often find with receivers that are that wide open, Don. They think that they can run prior to catching the football. David Williams had gotten out, set down in that soft spot. Sammy Garza rolling out, buying time. David Williams wide open, looking upfield, and the ball gets to his body and bounces to the turf.
Williams doesn't do that often, as evidenced by the 75 touchdown catches he has made in his CFL career.
Well, he has 2 touchdown receptions in the playoffs throughout his career, and this is his 4th playoff with his 4th different playoff team.
Winnipeg, second and 10. Ball at the 22. Garza for Williams. This time he's got it. He tosses it off to Richardson. Touchdown. But they're going to rule it dead, I believe, at the 6-yard line.
A proper call made by the officials because his forward momentum had stopped. The defensive back had him in his grasp, but a great reaction by David Williams. You call that the hitch and tail play, where you catch the ball and you pitch it back to the running back circling, and a great reaction by Williams, but the official right on top ruled it down at the spot.
This is a play that brings back memories of the past for Winnipeg fans. They used to call it the flea flicker during the Bud Grant era, when Kenny Payne would throw to Farrell Funston, who would lateral to Leo Lewis.
Well, right there, that you could see where Williams had been driven back 3 yards prior to pitching the ball back to Richardson.
First and goal from the 6. The toss to Richardson, and Richardson is going to fight his way down to about the 2-yard line.
You know, it's not much running room when you're looking there between the tackles of this Hamilton defensive front. Those big guys that can stand their own against this Winnipeg offensive line, and you see Andrews and Fields at the tackle position doing a fine job thus far this afternoon.
They do have some size up front, with Fields checking in at 320 pounds, Ramal Andrews at 255. Into the end zone, incomplete. It was intended for Williams. He and Wilcox were in the same area. There may have been a mix-up in the pattern the two were running.
Well, that's something that you don't commonly find is 2 receivers in the same area, but Winnipeg is going to go for it here, Don, on 3rd down. I think for them, they feel that they need to let this Ticat defense know that they can move the football on them. What you'll probably get is Sammy Garza on a rollout. You're buying some extra time to give him that run-pass option.
Not a bad decision either, James, in that if they do turn it over here, Hamilton is working on a long field.
Well, they've been 8 for 8 on all 3rd down gambles this year thus far.
Garza rolling out. He throws to Wilcox. Touchdown.
Make that 9 for 9.
Well, Sammy Garza has impressed the fans at Winnipeg Stadium in the opening quarter, and he accepts congratulations from Matt Dunnigan as we take another look at the good catch by Gerald Wilcox.
Well, Wilcox working one-on-one on Bobby Dawson. An excellent job of laying out for that football. He extended his body. There was no way that Bobby Dawson could make a play on the football, and it ended up in a major score, the first of the afternoon.
Troy Westwood adds the point after. And with 3:34 remaining in the first quarter, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 7-point lead. Wilcox was on the receiving end of the touchdown toss from Sammy Garza. A good drive engineered by the Winnipeg quarterback. He moved the team 75 yards in 9 plays.
When you look at the situation, you see Chris Johnstone's here. We're going to get Garza roll out, but you're going to get Johnstone come back here after he gets to the corner and seal that right side of the offensive line. You see him coming in there helping out Chris Walby. That's what allows a quarterback like Garza to find an open receiver like Wilcox for a touchdown pass.
Wilcox had a career year for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as a receiver, and he has the first touchdown of this Eastern Final. Burbage waits for the ball at the 10-yard line. Burbage gets a couple of good blocks and brings the ball back to the 37. Bobby Evans was finally able to bring him down. That was a 28-yard run back after a 66-yard kickoff.
We saw the blocking being set up, and this is Sammy Garza. After the blocking, rolling out, you have Wilcox laying out for that ball, gotten a separation from Bobby Dawson. You see a jubilant Cal Murphy after that touchdown. He's very elated by this young quarterback Garza taking his team down for the first major of the afternoon.
Gerald Wilcox missed the first 2 games against Hamilton this year because of injury. Joey Yock makes the catch for a gain of a yard, maybe 2.
You know, when you talk about Wilcox's injuries, he had a tough couple of years. He had the knee injury last year that kept him out for the most part. He had a major injury before he came here from Ottawa. He had the Achilles that gave him problems. But this year he was healthy, and you spoke about it, the career year that he's been able to put together. And he's been one recipient of all the passes before Matt Dunnigan had gone down with his major Achilles injury.
1,340 yards this year for Gerald Wilcox. Kenneth Rare was the receiver Dillon was looking for, the pass behind him. I mentioned that Rare this year made 41 catches but did not snare a touchdown pass. You have to go through the top 44 receivers to find another receiver in the CFL who did not catch a touchdown pass.
Well, when you look at the year that Kenneth Rare had last year, he was a Ticats leading receiver with well over 1,000 yards in receptions and an Eastern All-Star at that. And then this year it was a disappointing year for him. But Todd Dillon right now is not very settled in the pocket. He has those happy feet, has been, you call it sometime, and he's just not getting the ball to his receivers.
Boyko takes the kick in the dead run. Penalty flag in the play. Yock forces him out of bounds. Boyko was very alert as he saw the ball get hung up in the wind, and he came roaring up to take it on the dead run, and I think it's going to be a no yards call against Hamilton.
Well, a very unfortunate mishap for the Ticats here. When you look at it, Kerry Wright was coming down.
Number 7 on the kicking team. Penalties declined. First out. Don and James, look at the Bomber offense when it lines up. Mike Kelly told me before the game that it'd be important to spread it the width of the field and make the Ticats defend from sideline to sideline. He said his review of the tape of Hamilton's win over Ottawa last week, he felt, showed the Riders' offense to be too condensed, the slots too stationary. Bombers went to school on that game and gave the Ticats defense in trouble on the last drive. We'll see what happens on this one.
Scott, if there's one guy who can relate to those forearms and the muscle on the biceps of Chris Walby, it's the man standing next to you in the booth, James Curry.
Well, you look at Chris Walby.
Lift weights to get those?
Is that how they come? Well, you know, you look at Chris right there. We see him in the corner of the screen, and you know, you get players like that. You dress the same way in November as you would dress in December, and that's Chris Walby right there doing that.
I like your toque, James.
Hey, when you live down south, it's a little cold up here this time of the year.
I'm going to have to give you a geography lesson again. Reno is not considered down south. Bill Henry, the backup offensive lineman, is being helped off the field. This is an area the Ticats have really had problems with this year. Dale Sanderson was hurt early. They had to bring in some backups. In the final game of the regular season against Ottawa, Dave Richardson went down. Then in practice, Mike Jovanovich went down. As a result, a lot of juggling was forced upon the Ticats along the offensive line. Inside toss to Mike Richardson, and Richardson stays on his feet and gets the first down. Tim Jackson came up to make the tackle on Richardson, who has been pumped and getting ready for this game for a couple of weeks. He was looking forward to an Eastern Final rematch against John Gregory's Ticats.
Well, the leading rusher in the CFL, and last year at this time he had 227 yards against these Ticats running the football, and he's looking for an equal opportunity this afternoon to accumulate those type of yards.
An end zone pass intended for Alfred Jackson. And there were two Hamilton defenders who came over to knock it away. Wilkerson got help from the safety, Todd Wiseman.
Well, Todd Wiseman was very fortunate on that play that he was able to come across, and he was able to reach back and tip that ball away at the last moment to just distract the vision of Alfred Jackson because he was open in the back of the end zone. You'll see right here, he had overrun the play, but he was able to counter just at the proper moment to tip the ball.
1:30 remaining in the opening quarter. Here comes the blitz. The pass is tipped at the line, and it was intended for Wilcox, but he tried to get back to the ball. He could not recover.
Well, Terry Wright did a tremendous job of coming from his will linebacker position on that play. He got up and guards his face, but you see Wilcox working on Dawson right here. The ball had been deflected, so the contact is allowed down the field because of the ball had been tipped at the line of scrimmage.
So Troy Westwood will enter the football game and attempt a field goal of 31 yards. His previous kick, 32 yards in length. Bob Cameron will hold. This kick is also good. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now lead 13-3. 1:05 remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, right now the Ticats might be losing contact with the Blue Bombers. They must do something offensively in this next series to mount a drive, to move the ball down the field. That defense has been spending a lot of time on the field here in the first quarter, and that's always the key. When the Bombers are successful, that running game with Richardson has been churning it out, and the Ticats have been paying the price thus far in the first quarter.
First and 10, the ball at the 35-yard line. The toss to Dave Donnell, and Donnell is tripped up by Sampson, who came up from his halfback position. And it looks as though he is going to be back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about all.
Well, Daryl Sampson would get my vote as probably the top Canadian in the CFL. He is one heck of a player. He allows this Winnipeg defense to do so many different things. You see Alfred Payton being knocked down by Lee Knight right there, but Daryl Sampson is the unsung hero of this defense.
Doesn't always get the recognition he deserves. Second and 10. Deep down the sidelines, intended for a Brer, and he was being covered by Daryl Sampson.
Well, when you speak about him, not only does he come up and make the stop on a running play, but he is able to run with a halfback, stride for stride downfield. You see Mick was right here working against Wallow, the American offensive tackle, doing a fine job at the line of scrimmage, but Daryl Sampson with the great one-on-one coverage downfield prevents a completion on the play.
Something Hamilton did not want to do was punt into the wind on the final play of the first quarter. They were hoping to at least pick up a first down so that they would have the wind at their backs if they were going to be forced to punt.
And the Bombers have 3 deep, hoping for a bad kick, and they can fill it and pick up extra yardage.
Osbaldiston's last kick traveled just 13 yards. This is a better kick, a lower kick. Matt Pierce lets it bounce. And Pierce is down immediately at the 47-yard line by Roger Henning. A 32-yard kick and a 4-yard return on the final play of the first quarter.
The CFL on CBC.
The Canadian University football yesterday would have actually been an ideal day for this Eastern Final. A temperature of about +5. Richardson, the ball carrier, and he'll be close to a first down. As a matter of fact, as he's tackled, he's driven forward and should have a first down. Statistically, the Bombers, as you might expect, leading by a score of 13-3, have a big edge. The one turnover, a fumble by Gerald Alphen, led to the only point the Ticats have on the board. A field goal by Paul Osbaldiston.
Well, that 109 yards passing by Sammy Garza, he's on a 400-yard pace, and that'd be quite an afternoon for him.
Alfred Jackson makes the catch in front of Gary Wilkerson and then is pushed back, but he will be credited with a 4-yard gain.
When you look at the cushion that the Hamilton secondary is allowing these Winnipeg receivers, you see Jackson and Williams working on the outside. There's not a defensive back within 5 to 7 yards of them when they make their break, and that's going to allow Sammy Garza the time to work with his wideout. You see it right there as Wilkerson is closing. The ball had already been in the air. Jackson went up to get it and picked up 5 yards on the play.
They mark the ball at the 48. 2nd and 5. Winnipeg. David Williams makes the catch, but he won't have the first down. Running that slant-in pattern, and Corus Thurman was able to wrap him up.
Well, one of the favorite routes of all CFL receivers, the wheel route, where you get that pick with the inside slot back who was Alfman coming across, picking the defensive back with Williams coming underneath. It was just short of the first down, and it's a situation where this time looks like they're going to punt it. Ken Avril looks like he'd be in a position that I wouldn't mind being in right now.
Herrera was most entertaining yesterday at the luncheon. He does a stand-up comedy routine, and we got a few excerpts from his routine yesterday.
Well, he put on an excellent performance, and he had the entire crowd laughing and rolling.
Bob Cameron stands back at his own 52-yard line for this 3rd down kick. Nobody handles the wind better in the CFL as a punter than Bob Cameron, and this is Cornell Burbage on the return. Look out. He's got some room in the sidelines, but there's a penalty flag back at the 26-yard line. And a legal block, I think, is going to be called against the Hamilton Ticats, eliminating a 37-yard return by Cornell Burbage.
Freeze. Right there. You know, a situation where the Ticats thought they had a good return going, and all of a sudden they're going to get caught for holding.
Holding 59 on the receiving team on the run back. First down.
Michael O'Shea, if we get a freeze right there, right here in the corner, Michael O'Shea was caught holding Clark, the linebacker, down covering for the Blue Bombers. Coming downfield as Burbage was able to get around the corner. And those are the situations that cost you. As a player, you have to recognize whether the receiver's gone past you, and O'Shea didn't recognize it and held on too long.
First offensive series with the wind at his back for Todd Dillon. He throws complete to Burbage, and Burbage breaks the initial tackle of Smith and gets outside up at the 27-yard line, and this should be a first down.
Well, Burbage, a quite animated receiver once he catches a pass. He only had 1 reception last week versus Ottawa, and it's very important that Dillon incorporates him in the passing attack because he's been the forgotten man. He's on the backside of the things, and if you spread out the defense like Winnipeg is trying to do, you'll be more effective.
Burbage scored his first CFL touchdown right here at Winnipeg Stadium on the 28th of August. Earl Winfield is the man Dillon was looking for. He was battling with Kim Phillips, and Winfield didn't like the way the battle had developed.
Well, there was a lot of contact on that play, and Phillips should be very fortunate he didn't get a flag in this situation. You see Winfield trying to get away, and Phillips never loses contact with him, and Winfield is quite upset that there wasn't a flag. When you talk about Burbage's first touchdown, Don, that was also the first touchdown of Bob Torrance, the quarterback.
Yes, when you look back on the 3 meetings this season between the Ticats and the Bombers, Don McPherson was the starting quarterback for 2 of the games, Bob Torrance for the other. Today it's Todd Dillon. He throws for Kenneth Rare. First down at the 42-yard line. There's also a penalty flag in the Hamilton backfield.
A great play by Dillon, buying time for himself.
Number 56 on the defense. First down.
You'll see Alfred Payton here coming in as Dillon has released the ball, putting that helmet under the chin while the quarterback was vulnerable and the official threw the flag. But Stan Mickle was hustling from his nose position all the way downfield to make that tackle on Kenny Avril. Just great hustle by the defensive lineman for Winnipeg.
11:47 remaining in the first half. 1st and 10 Hamilton from the Winnipeg 52-yard line. Inside handoff to Donnell, and he's caught immediately by Vaughn Booker.
Vaughn Booker. The big fella having a little fun right there. When you look at him, he's been a little inconsistent this year, but he gets inside behind Douglas, who is trying to pull on the play from his guard position. Booker read it perfectly at the line of scrimmage, slanted down, and was able to stop the nail in the backfield for a loss.
Vaughn Booker out of the University of Cincinnati, initially recruited by the Bombers. By now, BC head coach Dave Ritchie. Winfield makes the catch to the 45-yard line, tackled by Kim Phillips. It will be a gain of 6.
Phillips is doing a fine job out there at his left corner position, working one-on-one against Winfield, trying to quick slant. Phillips is right on top of him as he makes the reception, drags him down after only a 5-yard gain on the play. Then Winfield got up from that play limping down. He is hobbling off of the field, and they can ill afford to lose him. He's that big play guy. You see him there dragging that right leg as he's leaving the field.
In many key situations last week, Earl Winfield was the go-to guy for Todd Dillon.
Well, you lose him, and who becomes your key man after that?
A 52-yard field goal attempt for Paul Osbaldiston. He has made only one field goal try from outside the 50 this year, and this one is going to fall short. Boyko takes it on the run at the goal line. And Boyko gets up to the 22 before he's forced out of bounds by Ramel Andrews. Veteran trainer Ray Jones retaping the right ankle of Earl Winfield. He led the team this year with 5 touchdown catches, 1,076 yards.
If we can get a freeze right here, we'll see as Winfield's ankle turns right in there, and that's what caused his injury in going off the field when you saw him hobbling, and they can't afford to lose Earl.
Winnipeg 1st and 10. The Bombers at their own 22-yard line. Garza faked, throws over the middle. Ball comes loose as Wilcox could not hang on, but they're ruling incomplete.
Very questionable call in that situation because it looked like Wilcox had possession of the ball as he came over the middle. A great hit by Jackson, though, at the end. You see Wilcox, he had the ball. He had turned upfield, took 3 strides. Generally, that's a completion because I've seen lesser calls go as incompletions.
Well, John Gregory obviously agrees with you on that one.
Right here, we'll see Wilcox. He had complete possession of that football, and Jackson just leveled him, put that shoulder where he should have, and dropped him.
Alphen makes the catch, and he's got the Winnipeg first down, taking the ball to the 33.
A big play by the Bombers. They were very fortunate they were able to retain possession after that call an incompletion on the previous play. Coming back to Alphen, who had only caught 2 passes in the last 2 games that they played working against Jackson. He gave him too much room to work in. Wilkerson came up and closed, but only after he had picked up the first down.
Well, Alphen hasn't made a big thing of it, but he has revenge in his mind because in his first CFL training camp, he was cut in 1986 by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Richardson took the handoff from Garza, and he went down before Michael O'Shea was even on top of him.
Well, what he was trying to do was change direction. Michael O'Shea, playing the weak side linebacker for Hamilton, came untouched. There was no one accounted for him in the blocking scheme. Miles Gorell, the tackle, had gone down, and Richardson came off his shoulders, and right there O'Shea was in the backfield before he could get started.
What a year Michael O'Shea out of Guelph University has had in his rookie season in the CFL. The Eastern nominee for Rookie of the Year honors. Alfred Jackson has a first down up to the 45-yard line. Action Jackson, he's nicknamed. And they've had trouble finding a spot for this man this year in Winnipeg. He's played some as a wide receiver, some as a defensive back.
Well, right here, O'Shea was the linebacker responsible for that area. He did not get back into his zone, and Jackson and Garza read it perfectly. Jackson ran the slant. O'Shea was not there, and they pick up another first down on the play.
His versatility has caused him some problems this year in trying to gain permanent employment with the Bombers.
Well, it will keep him employed, just which position will be each game.
Richardson, the ball carrier, and Richardson battles his way up to the 50-yard line, close to a 5-yard gain before being stopped by Ramel Andrews.
Well, Ramel Andrews played a couple of decent games at the end of the season. He withstood a lot of challenges. Hamilton tried various defensive tackles at that inside position. He was the starter last year, but in the end this season, he had regained his starting position.
when the Hamilton offense takes the field again. Earl Winfield will go with them. They've retaped his right ankle. It's an ankle injury he's had before, missed a few games because of it, but he will try it today because of the nature of this game, it being sudden death.
Todd Dillon was looking for Gerald Alpha, and O'Shea was covering him, and Jeff Fields was in quickly, hurrying the throw of quarterback Sam Garza.
Well, that time O'Shea was able to step up like he should at that outside linebacker position. Big Jeff Fields, 320 pounds, getting through almost untouched on Sammy Garza, forcing him to throw that football about a half a step earlier than what he wanted to, and Alphen could not get to it.
Jeff Fields, as you said, 320 pounds, but he's not the biggest man in the CFL. Miles Gurrell yesterday finally admitted that he tips the scales at 330.
Well, I didn't think that Chris Walby was far behind.
Says he's got Chris by about 5 pounds. Burbage on the kick return. And Burbage is held up at the 38-yard line with 7:19 remaining in the first half.
Tackle Miles Gurrell doesn't hold a grudge. This from yesterday's East Final luncheon where he mugged with the commissioner, even if he felt he was mugged by the commissioner himself, who fined him $300 for calling Dexter Manley something associated with one's posterior. And Don, you talked about Ken Herrera. The line gave Herrera some material for his routine at the luncheon. He said, "Tell me how Larry Willis gets fined $300 for telling Calgary Winnipeg secrets, and Miles gets fined $300 for saying something that's not a secret."
Absolutely right, and Lee Knight, the ball carrier, brings the ball to the 50-yard line of Winnipeg. Lee Knight made the catch in traffic and then did a good job of battling for additional yardage.
Well, Lee Knight scored Hamilton's first major last weekend against Ottawa. You see him circling out of the backfield from his fullback position, getting right in the middle where the linebackers had vacated. Todd Dillon with time in the pocket, finding him in that open soft spot.
Well, a career in stand-up comedy be in store for Kenneth Rare when his playing career is over. Dave Donnell quickly inside for a pickup of about 5. Greg Clark made the tackle. Immediately following this Eastern Final from Winnipeg Stadium, we'll be going to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where snow and bitter cold is going to be a problem for the West matchup between the defending champion Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Eskimos. That game will immediately follow the Eastern Final.
It's bitter cold here.
Burbage makes the catch, and he's thrown back by Donald Smith. You're not going to get me into any comments about the weather today.
A tremendous hit by Greg Battle on Burbage at the end of that play, and Burbage is still down on that. He was in a very vulnerable position. He was being driven back. The play had stopped. He's here working against Smith, and Battle comes in and takes a clean shot on him, and he's still down. You see Booker working from that right end position. Gutopoulos can make that Donnell stepping in, going low on Booker, and getting him down to the turf. They can't afford to lose another receiver. Winfield went down earlier. Burbage is now getting up under his own power, but they're a little thin down out there this afternoon.
Well, they do have Nick Mazzoli back on the roster after being out for a spell with injuries, and he is capable of backing up at either a slot back position or a wide out position.
Well, you got Richard Nurse now in the game at one of the wide out positions. They had to replace Burbage for at least a play. Winfield is on the sideline also, so they're starting 2 wide outs. They're out of the game. They're going to gamble here on 3rd down. The Ticats need to get this drive and keep it going down the field. They cannot afford to turn over the ball right here, trailing 13-3.
3rd down gamble. Todd Dillon will keep, and he'll dive across the 40-yard line for a Hamilton first down with 5:37 remaining in the first half. Winnipeg leading by a score of 13-3.
Following Dale Sanderson, old veteran, been moved from center to right guard now, along with Wallow, the rookie right tackle. Dillon gets behind those 2 big guys and follows in for that first down.
Winfield and Burbage are now back in for the Hamilton Ticats. Winfield goes wide right, 1st and 10. Pass quickly over the middle to Lee Knight, and he will have a gain of 7 yards.
Well, Lee Knight right now is getting the job done coming out of the backfield. Those are very safe passes by Todd Dillon. The low risk. You get Knight working on a linebacker, and he's able to pick up 7 yards on the play.
Lee Knight caught a very key touchdown pass in the Eastern semifinal against Ottawa last week on the first Hamilton possession. An 11-yard grab from Dillon for a major score. Inside again, and Burbage has this one for a first down at the Winnipeg 25-yard line. Donald Smith made the tackle for 26 remaining in the half. Penalty flag on the play as a skirmish takes place after the play had been whistled dead.
Well, what happened in the skirmish right now, you see Dillon with the quick slant to Nurse. At the end of the play, Greg Battle came in, and Peter Gutopoulos took some exception to it, and he shoved Battle, and then Von Booker came in and tackled Gutopoulos, and I believe that's where the flag is going to be thrown. Normally, the last guy who gets caught in an infraction is the one who gets called for it. You see Avrera and Battle, they're talking about it. Avrera came in, gave a good block to Battle, and that's when Booker came in and stepped up. So you'll get an objectionable conduct here on number 99 for Winnipeg, and it's going to cost the team half the distance to the goal.
Well, that will dramatically improve Hamilton's field position.
Number 99 on the defense. It's first down.
Von Booker, and that's what happens. Von has to be more alert that the play was over, that any extra pushing and shoveling that he got involved in was not going to benefit his team. Now he's given Hamilton exceptional field position with 4 minutes to go here, a little over 4 minutes to go here in the second quarter, and if they can punch it in, a lot of that will be attributed to Von Booker's penalty.
First and 10 for the Ticats. Winfield is wide right. Donnell inside battled his way to the 10-yard line. And there's a penalty flag over on the far side of the field.
We're going to get an offside situation here. That flag came out awful early. Once again, another mental error back-to-back for Winnipeg. The right side of their defensive line a little antsy, moving over there.
Offside. Number 56 on the defense. It's first down, repeated.
Alfred Payton had lined up at that right rush position. You'll see him up top here as Lee Knight gets over there, gets in that neutral zone, and it costs his team another 5 yards.
The ball is now at the Winnipeg 7-yard line. Dave Donnell, the ball carrier, and Donnell gets inside the 5. He's stopped between the 4 and the 3-yard line.
It's going to be about a yard short of a first down, and Hamilton right now is picked up 17 yards in consecutive plays on penalties to go along with the Donnell run, and now they're down inside the 5-yard line with a second and short.
This would give the Ticats a big lift if they were able to punch this one in and narrow the gap to just 3 points going to the dressing room at halftime. And the football fans watching the action on the big screen at Cops Coliseum are delighted with what they're witnessing from their heroes at the moment. On 2nd and 1, it's Donnell, touchdown.
And it's a cloud of silence right now in Winnipeg Stadium. You look at Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, a very jubilant crowd, but that touchdown you can attribute it to 2 penalties that were taken on successive plays by the Blue Bombers defense. You had Von Booker with his objectionable conduct. You had the offside by Randolph, but Dave Donnell did an excellent job of running off tackle. You'll see him, he'll get the ball in the backfield. Dale Sanderson is the old veteran on the offensive line, doing a tremendous job of getting up inside on the linebackers, and he pushes Sampson into the end zone for the major.
Well, Dave Donnell scored a 34-yard touchdown in the Eastern semifinal against Ottawa, and he punches it in here in the Eastern final against Winnipeg. 3:02 remains, and it's a 3-point game.
On the sidelines with the highest paid assistant coach in professional football, Bomber quarterback Matt Dunnigan. Sammy Garza's had a couple of scoring drives. How's his confidence?
He's fine. He's on top of his game. I think he knows what he wants to do out there. He feels comfortable. and all I'm here is to try to keep everybody away from him and help him keep his head straight. And he's doing a great job of that right now.
Let him be more focused, a clearer line of communication.
That's right, and that's what we got right now. And we feel like if we can get out of this quarter, we'll put some more points on the board, and not let them cut into our lead anymore, then we'll be in good shape.
Okay, Matt, thanks for your time.
Scott, I want you to know
leading the Hamilton Ticats by 3 with 3 minutes to go in the first half of play. We'll return to Winnipeg Stadium.
Donnell, a 24-year-old running back out of the Burlington Braves, scores Hamilton's first touchdown of this Eastern final.
The key is the surge up front by the offensive lineman. You see them pushing those Bombers back. You saw a sea of white shoving a sea of blue backwards. And once you can get those guys up front moving that line of scrimmage, a running back really doesn't have much problem picking up yardage.
On the kickoff, the ball rolled out of bounds in the Winnipeg end zone. The Bombers scrimmage 1st and 10 from the 25. Garza, good fake inside. He throws upfield, incomplete. Intended for David Williams, but Gerald Wilcox was streaking down the sidelines, and he was wide open.
He was wide open, and he tried to go to the short man in that situation, who was David Williams, who had found that soft spot. You see Fields here working on Walby as he comes around. Black is there to pick him up, and he missed him, and he got a great shot on Garza, and the quarterback can't take many of those hits, and Garza had that major shoulder surgery. They need to protect him a little better than that.
2:58 remaining in the opening half. 13-10. Winnipeg leads Hamilton. This is going to be intercepted by the safety, Todd Wiseman. He's tackled by Alfred Jackson at the 36-yard line, but the Ticats have a great opportunity now to, if not take the halftime lead, at least get back on even terms.
Well, Sammy Garza going to that soft spot once too often, and this is going to be Todd Wiseman's second great play of the afternoon. He's playing a perfect center field right here. The ball goes high over Wilcox. Wiseman is where he should be. He's able to pick it off before Jackson is able to bring him down, but only after he gets back to the 35-yard line.
1st and 10, Hamilton, the ball at the Winnipeg 35. Dillon with time. He throws for Winfield. He can't hang on. And one of the reasons he wasn't able to hang on, James, he got hit by Kim Phillips from behind.
But also, Don, he let that ball get to his body. It slipped right through his hands, and it got to his chest. And the ball is a little slick on an afternoon like this. And Winfield, you'll see him go up, and the ball went right through his hands, hit those shoulder pads, and bounced off. You got to grip it a little tighter than that.
2nd and 10, Hamilton, the ball just outside the Winnipeg 35-yard line. 2:45 remaining in the half. Winfield again, he can't hang on. Kim Phillips again defending against the Ticats' leading receiver. The throw was just a little high.
A little high, and Dillon got that one up in the wind a little bit. Winfield working one-on-one against Kim Phillips out on the corner here. You'll see Winfield driving off, breaking to the out, and that ball just floats on him. Phillips recovers and able to knock his legs out. But a chance for the Ticats to get down and possibly get a major, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal attempt. And they're stretching Osbaldiston's range right here at 42 yards, kicking into the wing.
Osbaldiston this season good on only 6 of 16 attempts from outside the 40. But this one is dead center, and the Ticats are back on even terms. The game is tied at 13 with 2:35 remaining in the first half.
Well, Don, when you look at this situation, Hamilton was maligned all year long. A very dismal offense, only averaging 17.5 points a game throughout the season. But once Todd Dillon has come on the scene, they've picked that up to at least a touchdown, where they're averaging 24 points a game. But right here, Osbaldiston with excellent follow-through, the confidence. That's what kickers need, is that confidence on a kick like that.
The Ticats, the lowest scoring team in the CFL this year. Only twice in 18 regular season games did they score 30 points or more. Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 35. Hand off to Richardson. He fumbles the ball, but he managed to get it back.
Right now, seems like the wheels might be coming off the wagon a little bit right here. Sammy Garza seems a little unsure of himself right now. He didn't get the ball to Richardson properly. You see him stick it right in the side, right in his ribs. Richardson never had a handle on it. They're very fortunate that Michael O'Shea or Jeff Fields didn't come up with a fumble recovery on the play.
At the 30-yard line, it will be 2nd and 15, Winnipeg. Garza throws to Jackson on the sideline, but he can't squeeze it. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be kicking into the wind on third down with 2:15 remaining in the half.
Well, Don, in Calgary, the crew's working double time to try and keep the field clear for the West Final, which kicks off in a little under 2 hours. It's the Stampeders against the Eskimos. We'll go there for the game as soon as we're done here in the East, and we'll go there as well on Live at the Half to have Mark Lee set the stage for us. We'll also have the touching story of Mike Kelly's return to Winnipeg. He was away for a month as his daughter underwent critical surgery at Sick Children's Hospital in Toronto.
Bob Cameron stands at the 15-yard line for the third down punt. Ricky Royal was coming from the outside. A short kick taken by Nick Mazzoli. Penalty flag on the play as Mazzoli brings the ball back to the 31-yard line. A 17-yard return after a 19-yard kick.
Well, a big play once again by the Ticats. The no-yard penalties that will be called on the Bombers.
Number 44 on the kicking team, the penalty is declined. It's first down.
Great field position, and once again, in successive possessions, they have the ball inside the 40-yard line of the Bombers. Todd Dillon, they were very fortunate he wasn't able to pick up a first down his first time, but now he's back in that same position.
Hamilton, first and 10. The ball at the Winnipeg 31, 2:07 remaining in the half. The game is tied at 13. Todd Dillon for Yock. He can't hang on.
Earl Brown with a tremendous play from his free safety position. That's how you play center field. Todd Dillon hung that one up. Earl Brown was able to recover, come across and lay a crushing blow on Yock just as he made the contact with the football. You see Brown here putting that shoulder right up in the chest, separating him from the football with Smith helping out.
Second and 10 for the Ticats. They are at the Winnipeg 31. At one point, they trailed 13-3 in this first half. They're now on even terms. Dave Donnell can't go anywhere. He is going to lose a yard on the play as he was stacked up right at the line of scrimmage and then driven back.
A swarming Bomber defense trying to run an inside trap on that play. A situation where the Bombers defense, you're going to see them trying to pull these offensive linemen around, and they're coming around, and they did not get them around, and that defense blitzing, able to get up inside, and Donnell is trying to come, but they're all at home doing their job, and they dropped him for a loss on the play.
A 39-yard field goal attempt by Paul Osbaldiston to put the Ticats in the lead for the first time today. And it's good. And the Ticats lead at 16-13 with 1:39 remaining in the half.
Well, right now, you see Kim Phillips from the bottom of your screen coming around just a stride short of getting there. An excellent job of turning that corner real tight, and that's what you want from your wingmen on those kick block situations.
Now the Blue Bombers looked so confident and moved the ball so well on their first couple of possessions, but the Hamilton defense has risen to the occasion in this second quarter, and the Bombers have been struggling offensively. First and 10 from the 35-yard line. Richardson will only get a couple of yards before he's dropped by Tim Cofield.
Well, Don, when you look at it, the last time the Eastern Conference had a 14-14 was the 1988 season, and in the Eastern Final, that 14-14 did not advance on to the Grey Cup in Ottawa that year.
Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year had a 14-4 record, totally dominating Eastern opposition. Garza's pass almost intercepted by Gary Wilkerson. Wilkerson and Terry Wright had dropped off with Gerald Alphen, and Wilkerson, had he been able to hang on, was gone for 6.
A perfect read by Gary Wilkerson on Sammy Garza, who had locked in on Gerald Alphen. He was able to release from Jackson out in the flat, close on Alphen, and made a great break on the ball. And like you said, very fortunate that didn't go for 6 because there was nothing but green astroturf in front of him.
Remember, Bob Cameron's last punt traveled just 19 yards. Terry Wright, who was defending against Alphen along with Gary Wilkerson, is the injured Hamilton player.
Well, he caught Wilkerson's helmet with his shoulder right in the side of his helmet, and you get that burner in those situations that football players are renowned for getting for, and you get that numbness down one of those arms. Look like his right arm right there. Got a little numbness, but great play. You'll see right here that that shoulder pad catches him right in the side of the helmet, and that's what causes the burner.
Ticats will get the ball back in excellent field position once again. Mazzoli fields it, no yards again against Winnipeg. So the Ticats are going to improve their field position with 1:10 remaining in the first half. A 10-yard return by Mazzoli after just a 20-yard punt by Bob Cameron.
Well, Don, in their last 3 possessions, they've had the ball on the plus side of midfield. And when you're operating with a short field like this, as Hamilton has in their last 3 possessions, it makes things much easier for your offense. But the Winnipeg defense has been able to withstand the challenge and keep them out of the end zone.
First and 10, Dillon to Winfield, and Winfield on the sideline steps out of bounds a couple of yards short of the first down. If the Ticats go to the dressing room with the halftime lead, it will be the first time this year in 3 meetings against Winnipeg at the end of any quarter that they have led.
Well, Winfield right there, stepping out of bounds, preserving the clock. He stopped it with 1:06 to go after picking up 8 yards. Now, this is where Dillon's maturity needs to come in and pick up the first down.
He gives the ball to Lee Knight, and Lee Knight was stopped initially, tried to reverse, and is driven back to the 40.
Well, Lee Knight did not run that ball with any authority on that play. He sort of tiptoed up towards the line of scrimmage, expecting things to open up in front of him, and it never did, and Payton and Booker were right there to make the tackle on the play. You'll see him right here. He's not hitting that hole with any authority. Randolph steps up off of the block of Donnell. He gets away from him, but the cleanup crew is there with Payton and Booker and drops him for a loss on the play.
In all fairness to Lee Knight, the reason he wasn't really able to move in there with any authority was Paul Randolph.
Yeah, he puts up a formidable task for anyone.
Field goal attempt by Osbaldiston. It's good. He has been deadly accurate so far today for the Hamilton Ticats, with the exception of the one long kick he attempted. And it appears that the $1,000 Paul Osbaldiston spent in going south to attend the Ray Pelfrey kicking school is paying off.
You said south. Where did he attend that kicking school?
Way south.
But you said south.
South of the border.
Oh, okay, all right, because it was in Reno, and we were referring to that as being south earlier. Right now, the Winnipeg offense seems to be in some disarray. They have not been able to get untracked in the last couple of series. Sammy Garza has been a little shaken as far as delivery of his passes right here. And when you look at this cold weather and that major shoulder surgery that he had, could it be affecting him?
Inside toss to Richardson. Richardson gets across the 40 to about the 42, tackled there by Michael O'Shea.
Well, Michael O'Shea doing a fine job of filling from his will linebacker position. You see him here reading the play, stepping up. He recognizes what's occurring, able to shift the block of McNeil, go inside and drop Richardson for a minimal gain on the play.
Interesting story, Michael O'Shea. He was drafted by the Edmonton Eskimos, but before he could make his way to the podium, he was informed that he had been traded to the Hamilton Ticats. Wilcox trying to get a first down, and with some second effort, he may have it.
Very fortunate on the play. Terry Wright did a tremendous job of reading what Wilcox was doing on the play, but he was able to slip away from that initial tackle by Wright and pick up the first down. The pump fake by Garza. He goes out to Wilcox in the short zone. Terry Wright misses the tackle. Irvin and was missing him, and Dawson, along with him, brought him down after the first down.
19 seconds remaining in the half. The clock is running here at Winnipeg Stadium. Sideline pattern for Jackson, knocked away by Gary Wilkerson. Almost the sidearm throw that time by Sammy Garza.
That's what happens, Don, and we spoke about the rotator cuff surgery that he had, and in these cold elements, is that shoulder stiffening up on him, And you look at him here coming from the side with the ball almost like a baseball pitch. He's not coming over the top. He's coming from the side, and that ball is floating. Gary Wilkerson, once again, with a great break on the football, and Winnipeg should feel very fortunate that he's been a step short because both of those could have gone back for 6.
It was in December of last year that Garza had the surgery on the rotator cuff problem, and he just now feels that he's beginning to get strength back in his arm. That's the final play of the half. The Ticats lead Winnipeg by 6. Let's go to the sidelines, and here's Scott.
Don, 3 meetings between the Bombers and Cats this season were lopsided in the Bombers' favor, but through 30 minutes of the East Final, the form chart's been thrown out the window as the Cats lead. Stand by for Live at the Half.
And a 5-yard return after a 36-yard kick. Winnipeg with the edge statistically as far as net yards are concerned, but 2 turnovers really cost the Blue Bombers.
Don, and those turnovers came in critical field position also, and the Bombers were able to capitalize on them. When you can get turnovers and get points out of them, that's when they become productive for you. And the Ticats were able to get 2 field goals out of those situations.
Hamilton, 1st and 10 from the 44. Burbage makes the catch. He gets away from Bobby Evans and is forced out of bounds on the far side of the field by Donald Smith. But he'll be very close to a 1st down, and Burbage appears to be hurt once again. Dillon completing 12 of 19 so far in the Eastern semifinal last week in Ivor Wynne Stadium against Ottawa. He completed 23 of 33 for 274 yards.
Well, when you look at what Dillon has done since coming back in as starting quarterback, he's been hitting on a 62% completion ratio, and a team prior to his arrival only winning 45%.
Lee Knight, the ball carrier. It will depend on where they spot his forward progress as to whether or not he has the 1st down. He was hit and driven back, but it looks as though he moves far enough. Although referee Bud Steen is going to call for a measurement. Mazzoli into the ball game, replacing Burbage.
Well, it looked like a decent spot on the play, and if not, I think that they will go for it on 3rd down if he does not get enough here on 2nd down.
Well, the big advantage they have in this 3rd quarter, the wind is at their back, but they do have the 1st down. And now Mazzoli goes out and Burbage comes back into the ball game for Hamilton.
Well, the key is, Donnie, you say they have the wind to their back. They need to march down the field. They need to mount a drive to keep that defense off the field, and that was the key in the 2nd quarter in comparison to the 1st, that defense had time to rest.
1st and 10 Hamilton, the ball just shy of the midfield stripe. Was intended for Lee Knight, and Daryl Sampson did an excellent job of defending. He came up and almost picked it up.
Daryl Sampson did an excellent job. We spoke about Sampson earlier, probably the best Canadian defensive back in the CFL, and you look at him with a tremendous break on the ball right there. But Todd Dillon, watch Todd Dillon's feet. He never gets planted really and comes around on that football, and that's why it floated and almost was picked by Sampson.
2nd and 10. Deep throw for Kenneth Rare. It's intercepted by Errol Brown, the safety. Brown tried to go to the outside and was knocked out of bounds. And now there's some pushing and shoving at the Winnipeg bench. Had Errol Brown opted to stay in the field of play, it looked as though the Bombers had set up a wall for him. But he tried to go to the outside and then was forced out of bounds. Joey York was one of those involved. So was Todd Dillon, the quarterback.
Well, Errol Brown doing an excellent job. We've seen some fine jobs done this afternoon by the safeties on both teams, Wiseman and Brown. Brown did a perfect job of playing center field. Daryl Harling, the center for the Ticats, and we saw Bill Henry go down earlier. They're really thin on the offensive line. Avere gets loose inside. He beat Sampson. He has the separation, but Dillon didn't get enough on the football, and Errol Brown came over from his free safety, as he should, and picked that one off. And he cuts back to the outside. If he'd have stayed up the middle, he had a wall performed by his teammates. Watch Todd Dillon once again with his delivery. He just doesn't follow through. His shoulders stay back. He doesn't come over the top, and that allowed the ball to float. He has to follow through completely if he expects for that football to get there.
Harold Brown, a rookie, in only his third game as a starter for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. When Jason Yukovich, the safety, went down, the Bombers had some real concerns at the safety position. They were fortunate they were able to grab the University of Saskatchewan product, Brown.
Occasionally, Subway will bring a group of sandwich artists here to China.
He was able to read it perfectly, and he explodes up the middle once he gets that handoff. That offensive line right now is getting the job done for Winnipeg on the running game.
Be interesting to find out what Cal Murphy may have said to his troops at halftime. The Bombers heavily favored coming into this game. Garza fumbles the football, but he got it back. Oh, he was lucky there. That ball bounced right back into his arms.
Michael O'Shea did a fine job at his real linebacker position. Just an outstanding rookie season for the Ticats. They're running the speed option down the line of scrimmage. O'Shea comes across and is able to get a hand in on Garza, strips the ball. Garza was fortunate he got the perfect bounce back up to him before O'Shea was able to bring him down to force him into a punting situation. You see right here the fake to Johnstone, but O'Shea with the left hand gets it inside, and the ball bounces right back to Garza.
12:22 remaining in the third quarter. Bob Cameron drops back to his own 47-yard line for this third down kick. He's punting into that strong north wind. Mazzoli takes it, and Mazzoli is taken down by Leon Hatziano, but again, there's a no-yard call against Winnipeg after a 24-yard punt. There is a penalized team during the regular season. Winnipeg was about middle of the pack, but penalties have definitely hurt the Bombers today.
It has, but you look at the specialty team intensity here with Ricky Royal and Robert Clark right there going at it. That's what you get downfield, and when guys are hustling, you'll see a lot of those things occur.
First and 10 Hamilton, the ball at the 40-yard line. The Ticats lead at 19-13. Hand off to David Donnell. And Donnell loses the ball. Winnipeg's got it. A second consecutive turnover by the Ticats. The Ticats protesting that Donnell had been stopped.
He was down on the play, and the officials, I think, are going to reverse their decision on this play because it looked like he was down. His momentum had been stopped. He was being forced back. You can see right here where he was down. His momentum had been stopped, and then the ball is pulled out. And they're going to reverse the call on this play because his momentum had been stopped. Proper call by the officials. Once they have been stopped and the gang up has started, you got to blow the whistle, and one of the officials had done that. And it's great to see him conferring to make the proper call because this game means so much that it should not be decided on a situation like that.
Well, the fans don't like it, and neither does the Winnipeg defensive unit. And now there's another conference.
Well, his forward momentum had been stopped, and that is the key to a play when the forward momentum has been stopped. Because we saw it earlier when David Williams had pitched the ball back to Michael Richardson on that hitch and go play that they thought they had a touchdown, but his forward momentum had been stopped on the play.
Well, the Bombers kept pointing to the replay screen in the end zone and suggesting that the officials watch a replay of the call.
But it's not always based on whether a knee touches the ground. It's the forward momentum. Once his progress is stopped, he can no longer pick up yardage. You see a lot of players never hit the ground on plays, but the whistle is blown, and that's the same situation we just saw with David Donnell. Right here, we'll see they're running that trap, that counter tray right here. You're pulling the backside off of the line. He's met in the hole by Booker right there, and he's being driven back, twisted around by Clark, and then the ball comes out.
Bob Booker is still arguing the call. Cal Murphy doesn't like it either. And when they replay plays such as that on the giant television screen, well, the fans react. according to how they felt the call should have been made.
Well, you're going to get that reaction from a home crowd, but, you know, it's one of those situations where sometimes it comes down to a judgment call, and the judgment came from the official in that situation, and he felt that by making the call from the angle that he made the call from, and that is the key, having the proper angle on the play to see that his momentum had been stopped.
One of the problems, they had moved the yardsticks the other way, thinking that it was a Winnipeg possession on a fumble recovery. And now they have to reset the line of scrimmage. Well, it can't be 1st and 10. That's what they've announced to the crowd. It has to be 2nd and 10, and Bud Steen, he is confirming.
It will be 2nd and 8 after they reset it, because he did pick up 2 yards on the play. So now that we've gotten everything straightened out, we can continue with the progress of this football game.
As expected, a chorus of boos from the stands at Winnipeg Stadium. 2nd and 8. Dillon throws for Lee Knight on the sidelines, and Lee Knight is going to be stopped about 4 yards shy of a 1st down.
Don, a few moments ago you mentioned it'd be interesting to find out what Cal Murphy said to his players at halftime. I checked around, and basically he didn't say a whole lot except don't be too tight in the second half, play your own game. But now his task is to try and make sure his players maintain their composure on the sidelines, because believe me, they're hopping after that last call.
Well, I think that all players at this point in the juncture of the season understand what the importance is on the field of a game of this magnitude, and the players are focused as far as what they have to do. It's just a matter of not making those mental errors that they made earlier in the first half.
Brown takes the ball at the 21-yard line. He fumbled it and was fortunate that he was able to dive back in the football. And that's where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will scrimmage, a 44-yard punt by Paul Osbaldiston. It was interesting that Coach Murphy yesterday said one of the messages he was going to deliver to his team prior to today's football game was never, ever underestimate your opponent, even though the Bombers had totally dominated the Ticats in their last 4 meetings.
I think the key of it is what Coach Gregory had said about what had occurred earlier in the season. They could not bottle it up and bring it into this game.
And off to Richardson. Richardson will pick up about 3 yards before being stopped by Jeff Fields. 10:36 remaining in the 3rd quarter. 19-13. Hamilton leads Winnipeg.
Well, this defense of Hamilton has not been undaunted by this Winnipeg offensive line. You see 2 big 300-pounders. Jeff Fields, 320 pounds, just pushes big Chris Walby, 320, 30, whatever, to the ground and did a fine job up front. That defensive line is answering all calls this afternoon of this Winnipeg offensive line.
Sammy Garza with time. Wilcox makes the catch. And Wilcox was indeed fortunate because the ball had been tipped a couple of times by several Hamilton defenders, including Corus Urban.
Well, very fortunate, as you say. That ball took a lot of time in getting there. Wilcox fighting downfield against Michael O'Shea, setting down in that soft spot in the zone, but Corus Urban made a tremendous break on the ball, and he was very fortunate able to pull that one in. But Sammy Garza right now is having some trouble in delivering the football. We'll get a shot of Sammy here as he rolls back out to the right, but watch his delivery. He is just not bringing that arm around with any authority.
And off to Richardson. He's caught from behind. Bates was able to bring down the Winnipeg running back.
Stephen Bates has been a pleasant surprise for this Hamilton defensive line. In his last 2 games for the Ticat defense, he has recorded 3 quarterback sacks, but that time coming from the backside. You'll see right here the front side of the play, Chris Walby getting out on Michael O'Shea. That's really not a match at all. Walby's going to win that maybe about 98% of the time, and that time he just dominated the rookie.
A gain of 2 at 2nd and 8 Winnipeg. The ball is at the 35. Garza steps up, and Garza loses the football. It's recovered. Well, Boyko thought he had it, but the ball rolled away from him, but the whistle had gone.
Sammy Garza right now, like I said, Don, I really question whether his arm is completely healthy. He doesn't want to throw the ball. He's not that anxious. And then you look at him here. He doesn't tuck it away. He was very fortunate that might have been a fumble if he got away with. Tim Cofield really blasted him again on that right shoulder. You'll see him here. At that point, he should be trying to deliver the football. Andrews flushes him up through the pocket. Watch Cofield come in from the backside right here and give him that shot, and he drops the ball down on the turf once again.
Certainly isn't delivering the ball with the same snap that he did in the first quarter of the football game. Burbage looked as though he was going to field the football. It's recovered by Leon Hatziano. There's a penalty flag in the play. The Bombers are claiming that Burbage touched the football.
Well, he came in after the football, which technically makes it a live football.
8:09 is the time remaining in the third quarter. We'll sort it out when we return. Bouncing punt did hit Cornell Burbage, but the ruling is that two Bombers were within the 5-yard restraining area.
It was very close. It went off his right arm just as he went for the ball, but Jimmy Yock right here is hustling downfield, doing a fine job of containing Blaze Bryant, and that's what you expect. And then a little extracurricular activity right there. Both players retaliating, the officials step in, and no flag is thrown. Proper call made in that situation. No call made in that situation.
23,332 the official attendance this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. Todd Dillon with a good inside fake, trying to dump it off for Yock, and Bobby Evans was over defending against the Hamilton slotback.
Well, Todd Dillon, once again, and both quarterbacks are having a similar problem right now of not getting much on the football, but Bobby Evans seems to be the more open of the two players out there in the flat because he broke in front of Yock and had the better opportunity to pull that one in.
The wind, which at the start of the game appeared to be blowing directly out of the north, now appears to be gusting and has switched a little to the northwest. It may be causing some problems on the throws. Not for Todd Dillon and Earl Winfield on this pass, as Winfield has a Hamilton first down.
Well, Don and James, I know you've been speculating there could be something wrong with Sammy Garza's arm, and maybe that's why he's not delivering the ball with a great deal of authority. I have asked around here. The Bomber medical staff says everything's fine. Spoke to a couple of the receivers who say the problem is not with Sammy Garza's arm. It's playing into the wind in this quarter. The ball hangs up. The defenders break on it, and the whole game, at least from the Bombers' point of view in this quarter, is being played in about a 20-yard field. So the wind is his big problem. At least that's what they're saying for the record.
Dave Donnell bounces to the outside, and this is when he is most dangerous, and he has another Hamilton first down. A gain of 20 yards before being pushed out by the safety, Errol Brown. We saw him run a similar play for a touchdown against Ottawa last week.
And it's either feast or famine with Dave Donnell. You see him running the counter tray. You're pulling the off tackle and guard. He gets around the corner. But watch him switch hands with the football right here. That's what a seasoned running back will do. And he made the proper move of getting that ball out away from the defenders to protect it.
Coach Gregory speaks very highly of his young running back. He said he has tons of talent. He lacks experience.
Well, he's probably the brightest Canadian running back in the CFL since Orville Lee, who had played with these same Ticats years back.
Donnell makes the catch over the middle, and he'll be close to another first down. Well, I don't know how many of these folks watching the action on the big screen in Hamilton are from Burlington, Ontario, but that's where Dave Donnell played junior football. And he has developed into a bona fide professional.
I wonder what the temperature is inside of Cops Coliseum right now.
About the same as here.
Oh, okay. They left the doors open. But Dave Donnell has done a fine job here in the third quarter of handling the football. He's had somewhat of a reputation of putting it on the ground, but he's been protecting it in this quarter.
Todd Dillon got away from the initial pressure, and his pass was deflected by Randolph.
They were very fortunate because Big Jeff Fields, a target hard to miss, had gotten behind the secondary of the Blue Bombers, and Todd Dillon took the chance of calling that pass play and sending his big tight end out. You'll see right here where Fields was behind coverage, but it took so long with the pressure from Randolph for him to get the pass off that they had recovered. Right there you see Fields as the secondary rolls back up to him, and he's hard to miss at the 2-yard line.
The ball comes loose as Dave Donnell is hit. Winnipeg this time has recovered.
It's either feast or famine with Dave Donnell, and right there, a cardinal sin of a running back on a short yardage play is to leave your feet, and that's what Dave Donnell did. He left his feet trying to dive in. You'll get it right here coming into your living room. He leaps in the air. Paul Randolph puts that shoulder pad right on the football, jars it loose. Stan Mikowitz recovers. Big play by the Bombers defense. You know, he had a seam right inside. All he had to do was cut off a Bill Henry. He had opened up a hole for him, seemed to have enough yards to pick up the first down, and he went the wrong direction. A rookie mistake.
5:12 remaining in the third quarter. Garza having some problems, and he's going to be dropped. No, he gets away and then is dropped by the second man in. Cofield and Bates were on top of the Winnipeg quarterback.
That's what you need to do when you're on the backside as a defensive end. Bates stayed at home. He and Cofield able to make the play right here. You'll see right here as he stumbles, Cofield is the first to arrive right here. He forces him up inside, and Bates comes right down the line in his pursuit angle, helps him clean up. Sammy Garza was very fortunate he didn't lose that football on that play himself.
Well, you don't expect to see a quarterback slip away from Tim Cofield.
The strongest man possibly in the CFL.
Richardson on the drop play on second down, and the Ticats are going to force the Bombers to punt with 4:20 remaining in the third quarter. Dave Donnell really upset with the fact that he lost the football when it looked as though the Ticats might be driving in for a touchdown. But as you said, a rookie mistake, and he has to learn to get down lower, not to go up high as he has done. And when we look back at his performance this year, every time he's fumbled, it's been in a similar situation. 4:17 remaining in the third quarter with the Ticats leading by 6.
This man has agreed to take part in an experiment about sleep. First, we told him that Travelodge has added a lot of little extras to make his stay more enjoyable. Things like free fresh brewed coffee in his room, a free newspaper, and free local phone calls. Did these nice little touches make it easier for him to enjoy his stay? Let's just say he slept very well. Stay satisfied. Stay with Travelodge.
If you're serious about automotive sound, Audio Warehouse will custom design and professionally install a Pioneer car stereo system that will make your car one of a kind. Audio Warehouse and Pioneer, for those who take their cars and their sound very seriously.
To celebrate their 10th anniversary, Vaughn Wyant gives you 10 reasons to purchase a vehicle from Jubilee Ford. Number 1, one price, best price. 2, no pressure. 3, no pestering. 4, no haggling. Number 5, no hidden costs. 6, no bartering. 7, no grinding. 8, no harassing. 9, no hassles. And number 10, no bull. At Jubilee Ford, nobody gets a better deal than you.
Celebrate a tradition. The Grey Cup on CBC, November 28th.
Jeff Fields being assisted to the Hamilton bench. He'll be replaced by Lubo Zizakovic.
Well, Jeff Fields, 320 pounds right there. Seemed almost like a harmless situation when he went to the ground. You see him working against David Black. He counters back out, and he goes down. It's really hard to see right there what might have happened to him, but he went off on his own power, and hopefully he'll be back on that next series.
Bob Cameron stands inside his own 10-yard line for this third down punt. Not only does Cameron have the difficulty of kicking into the wind, the Bombers on the last 3 punts have been guilty of a no yards call. This is a good kick by Cameron. It chases Burbage back to the 40-yard line, and he's going to be brought down and lose the football. At the 44-yard line, a 39-yard kick by Bob Cameron, and then a loss of 5 on the attempted return by Burbage.
But Hamilton looked like they retained possession on the play. You see a little altercation going on out there with the players. The emotions are running very high right now. This has been a very stern-fought third quarter. There's been no points scored. It's been a defensive battle back and forth and a struggle for field position. Right here, you'll see Burbage as he tries to get to that wall left for the return. He is just not able to get there. The Bombers doing a great job of covering downfield, maintaining their lanes. The ball is forced out there at the very end and recovered at the last moment by Nurse.
With Harley out of the lineup, Sanderson has moved to center. Pass for Winfield, and he's caught immediately by Kim Phillips.
Well, that ball seemed to take forever to get there, and Kim Phillips had an excellent jump on the ball, but Winfield was able to come back to it just in front of him. Dillon has to throw those shorter, quick slant routes if he expects to be more efficient here in the third quarter.
James, many times you think that throwing with the wind is a big advantage, but sometimes the wind can take the ball away and carry it as well.
You get that tail on it, and it'll push it a little wider than what you expect.
This time, McRae is wide open. There's a penalty flag in the play, and this could be called back. It could be a pick call against Earl Winfield.
What you had in this situation is that you had Earl Winfield and Ken Avraire running that wheel route, and you're going to get Avraire caught in that situation where you're coming in and you're picking the defensive backs, trying to run them into each other. And that time, Avraire knocked off the defensive back and caught the ball, but it's going to be brought back.
Bullshit.
Winfield was down once again. You'll see right here as you come inside, the play has happened already where Avraire has come in and picked on the defensive back. Here we go with Ken Avraire. You'll see him come in. Oh, that's a tough call right there. Because it looked like Sampson was coming up to jam on him, and he just kept running, and Sampson got knocked over on the play.
Back to the 37-yard line, 2nd and 17, Hamilton. Payton is after Dillon. He gets the pass away. Bushy is hauled down at the 42.
You got a fired up Bomber defense right now that seem to have found new life after that penalty, and they're really flying to the football.
Earl Winfield and Paul Randolph continue to exchange words as Winfield leaves the field. Emotions have been running very high, almost from the opening kickoff. The Ticats coming into the game as definite underdogs based on the 3 games they played against Winnipeg this year, but with their confidence buoyed by the performance of Todd Dillon in the final 2 games of the season.
Those 3 games were quarterbacked by Matt Dunnigan, though. He is only a spectator this afternoon.
Arrow Brown takes the 3rd down punt, and he's tackled by Paul Bushy at the 43. A 38-yard kick and a 13-yard run back.
You know, a lot of times people will say, and when Scott did the sideline interview down there speaking about Sammy Garza, that they're worried about throwing into the wind. A situation where he can become too rusty, sitting around not throwing enough footballs, and his timing is thrown off. And when you come back and you have the wind, and you spoke about it, that wind will carry the football, will he be in that type of situation in the 4th quarter?
Well, the Bombers won the toss. They deferred the choice till the 2nd half. They opted to have the wind at their back for the 4th quarter. So far in the 3rd quarter, they have not allowed Hamilton to score. Mike Richardson carries to the 51.
Well, Richardson is doing a good job of running the football. That time running around the corner. You got Jeff Fields, who is back out on the field. Good to see him back out there after being helped off a little bit on that last series. But this game means so much to all these players because only one of them is going to continue playing after this afternoon's contest is over. Cal there a little fired up on the sideline.
1:27 remaining in the 3rd quarter. 2nd and 3, Winnipeg. Hand off again to Richardson. Richardson tries to bounce to the outside, but he's stopped, and it appears he's a yard short of a 1st down.
And Jeff Fields was right there along with Moulton, the middle linebacker, the 2nd leading tackler in the CFL during the regular season, and they did a good job of stopping Michael Richardson short of the 1st down.
Richardson getting a lot more work this afternoon than he has in most games this season.
Well, you see Fields and Andrews right there sliding down the line of scrimmage. Big Jeff Fields along with Moulton, the middle linebacker, stopping him about a half a yard short on the play.
Decision time now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 1:07 remaining in the third quarter.
You look at this Ticat defense right here, and this has been the mainstay of this team this afternoon. They have held this Blue Bomber potent offensive attack in checks to the tune of just 13 points. Since Todd Dillon's arrival, that group has gotten a lot more rest in the last 2 games, and that has made them much more effective.
Well, the last time they traveled to Winnipeg Stadium, the Ticats were embarrassed by a 61-10 score. That was on October the 2nd. They're looking for revenge today. Sammy Garza keeps, and as he drives forward to the midfield stripe, he should have a very important first down, because the Bombers, with 52 seconds remaining on the clock and the clock running, should now be able to control the football, and if they have to punt, they'll have the wind at their back.
Right there was very important. You know, that offensive line answered the call against the defense when needed to pick up a half yard. Watch these blue jerseys just drive forward, reestablish a new line of scrimmage, and pick up that first down to keep this drive alive with Sammy Garza marching them down the field.
The ball is at the midfield stripe. Richardson, the ball carrier. Bates is trying to strip it from him. And Richardson, in trying to hang on to the ball, is driven back to the 45, but they're going to spot it back at the line of scrimmage, his forward progress. We remind you that immediately following today's Eastern Final from Winnipeg Stadium, we'll be going to McMahon Stadium in Calgary as the defending Grey Cup champion Stampeders entertain the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, a good job done up front once again by that Hamilton defensive line. Bates able to step up in the hole and stop Richardson before he could get started.
Draw play with Richardson. This should be the final play. He fumbles the football, and it's recovered by Ramel Andrews. The final play of the third quarter. So the Ticats will take a 6-point lead into the final 15 minutes of this Eastern Final.
Textbook case, that. Now the next patient. Seems to be right here. Doctor, say it's 3 a.m. and Jones here phones you with cough due to cold. What do you recommend?
Better doctor?
Another opinion?
I'd recommend a Benylin formulation.
Benylin? Why?
It's highly effective.
Yes.
And I know it's the cough medicine you recommend to your patients.
I was going to say that.
Benylin, designed and recommended by doctors and pharmacists.
Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no, not I. I will survive. And as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive.
Duracell. You can't talk the copper talk.
CBC Sports presents the CFL on CBC. Brought to you by SaskTel.
Andrews recovering the fumble by Mike Richardson on the final play of the third quarter, and the Ticats have the ball at midfield rather than being penned deep in their own zone as a result of a third down punt.
If we can get a freeze right here, we'll see Ramel Andrews reach right in with his right hand, pulls that ball out, and as the ball hits the ground, he reaches back and recovers the fumble. He had an outstanding game last week against Ottawa in that Eastern quarterfinal game, and you see him right here scooping that ball back up, turning it over. Big play by the Ticat defense once again this afternoon.
They've got the ball at the Winnipeg 53.5. Todd Dillon on the first play of the fourth quarter. Looks, decides to run, and is brought down by Randolph, but not before he was able to pick up 6 yards. This is the statistical story of the first 45 minutes of this Eastern Final. And while the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the edge in a number of areas, including time of possession, they have also coughed up the football on 3 occasions.
But Don, the most telling stat, after one quarter of play, Winnipeg had amassed 109-yard passing over the last 2 quarters. They've only accounted for 50 yards through the airways.
And intended for a Brer on second down, and the Ticats will be forced to send out the punting unit.
Lloyd Lewis forced Todd Dillon to throw that one just a little quicker than what he wanted to. Lloyd playing a good game this afternoon, his right defensive end position, able to get through. Dillon felt his presence and had to throw the ball a little quickly.
You know, at the start of the game, we talked about John Gregory's comment about the points the Bombers scored, not being able to put them in the bank. 40-11 Winnipeg, 35-11 Winnipeg, 61-10 Winnipeg. But as you said, James, Matt Dunnigan was the starting quarterback in those 3 games.
He was a starting quarterback, and I've constantly been watching Sammy Garza, and he just doesn't seem comfortable in his delivery motion, Don, and that's making all the difference.
Excellent kick into the wind by Osbaldiston. It caused some problems for Errol Brown in trying to follow the flight of the football. He fields it at the 15 and the 2-yard return after a 40-yard kick. Well, while it may be windy and cool at Winnipeg Stadium, the conditions aren't as bad as they are at McMahon Stadium in Calgary.
Has Frosty the Snowman showed up a little bit early or something? I mean, I'm glad to be here with you this afternoon for a change.
I thought you were always happy to be with me, James.
Oh, okay, all right. Paul Bushy, though, did a fine job of going down on that last kick return, bringing down Brown with a minimal gain on the play. Excellent special team coverage by the Ticats.
Garza, now with the wind at his back, is going deep for David Williams. He's got it. That arm appeared okay that time.
It seemed okay. He had the wind at his back. If you look, the wind is really sailing through Bomber Stadium right now, Winnipeg Stadium here. Sammy Garza stepping back in the pocket. Plenty of time from his offensive line. Just airs this one out. And Corus Irvins, who's been looking into the backfield on a few occasions this year, once again victimized by a receiver. Last week, Stefan Jones took him deep. David Williams this afternoon.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the Hamilton 50. Handoff to Richardson. Richardson breaks one tackle of Bobby Dawson, but then is hauled down by Terry Wright.
Michael Richardson able to break that initial surge in the backfield. Hamilton was coming with a halfback blitz. You'll see Bobby Dawson in the backfield coming from the short side right here. Misses the tackle initially. Richardson steps out of it. Terry Wright, the third leading tackler from weak side linebacker, brings down Richardson after a 2-yard gain on the play.
2nd and 8. Garza's sideline pass intended for Wilcox, well over his head.
Well, Sammy Garza looked really good on that first pass, but Wilcox here working out in the flat was open. Garza threw that ball sidearm once again, and when he's been throwing the ball sidearm, it's been floating on him. That deep pass, he came over the top perfectly, but that when he went sidearm, it sailed over his receiver's head.
I think with the rotator cuff surgery he had last December, on occasion he might have some problems in coming overhand with the delivery.
Well, when you're sitting around and that shoulder gets cold, it gets stiff.
Bob Cameron's 3rd down kick. He's trying to angle it to the sidelines, but it's going to roll through the end zone for a single point. A 68-yard single by Bob Cameron with 11:58 remaining in the game.
Young man, have you seen this? Why, it's enough to put even me in the Christmas spirit.
What is it, sir? A newspaper?
Look at all these great gifts. And with Canadian Tire's guaranteed low prices, why, even I approve.
Is it a brochure?
No.
A magazine?
No. Here, have a look.
It's a flyer.
Look for the Canadian Tire Weekly Christmas Flyer. Canadian Tire lets you give like Santa and save like Scrooge.
Vendetta means small world.
And MTS has been there from the beginning, helping Mondetta grow into an international business success.
We've been approached by others, but there's more to it than just price. MTS is always competitive. Besides, the phone bill's increased. The cost at the bottom hasn't.
MTS, opening new lines of communication.
At it again?
Every couple of weeks.
Don't work too late.
Another long day. It's got to be ready by tomorrow or I'd better not show up. There's got to be an easier way.
Let the experts show you an easier way. Are you sure that's all it costs?
And all I have to do is hand out the checks.
ComCheck. Payrolls for businesses big or small.
There's the scene in Calgary, Alberta, as the Stampeders and Eskimos prepare to play the West Final. And, of course, 1 week today, the Grey Cup will be played in that stadium, and we'll have complete coverage on CBC Sports beginning on Saturday with a preview show and then countdown to Grey Cup 1 hour before the game proper on Sunday, followed, of course, by the telecast of the 81st Grey Cup game. And here, Don, we're about 12 minutes away from deciding if it's the Ticats or the Bombers who will represent the East.
Yes, earlier in the year, many people were predicting a Winnipeg-Calgary matchup. Well, there is a possibility it could be Hamilton-Edmonton. Pass intended for Joey Yock, incomplete. But James, maybe we can put in an order for a Chinook for a week from today in Calgary.
The Chinook or some space heaters up in the box, either one would work. That last pass by Todd Dillon was not that good of a pass. He was rolling out, the ball fluttered going out. You see it right here as it's fluttering going out to Yock. Yock didn't have much of a chance to bring that one in.
2nd and 10 from the 35. Over the middle for David Donnell, and Greg Clark, the middle linebacker, is on top of him immediately, and the Ticats will be forced to punt.
Alfred Payton has really been a non-factor for the most part this afternoon. He came into this game with 22 sacks, leading the league in that category. Watch Rob Wallow right here, the rookie offensive tackle, just pushes him out of the play. Does a fine job. That's all you expect, is to give your quarterback time. You don't have to flatten him. Just do not allow the pressure to get to your quarterback.
Baldiston's last punt was a 40-yarder, an excellent kick considering the wind at Winnipeg Stadium. Gets away another pretty good kick. Brown takes it at the 45, fumbles the ball, it's still loose.
Yock, Jimmy Yock picked that one up, number 2 for Hamilton.
So another turnover after a 30-yard kick by Paul Osbaldiston, and the Ticats have it 1st and 10 at the Winnipeg 44.
When you look at this situation, you spoke about the dominance of Winnipeg all year long over Hamilton. Those points and that domination could not be packaged. Todd Dillon arrived on the scene a couple of weeks ago. You see Brown trying to run once again before he got control of that football. Great coverage by Royal down there. Jimmy Yock diving in, picking up that free ball on the field. Big play once again for that Ticat offense by their specialty teams.
1st and 10, the toss goes to Dave Donnell. Donnell with his speed tried to get outside, and he only got a couple of yards before he was taken out of bounds.
Donald Smith from his corner position doing an excellent job of closing. Coming up, he's working one-on-one with the receiver, but as Donnell got to the corner, he came up, put that shoulder down, and drove him out of bounds.
I mentioned earlier that Dale Sanderson has moved to the center position with Darryl Harley out with an injury. That means that the backup, Bill Henry, who was shaken up earlier in the game, moves into Sanderson's guard spot. Todd Dillon throws deep, intended for Abraire, and Abraire could never get into his complete pattern on the play, and as a result, it's 3rd and 7, Hamilton.
And once again, the reason for that was Darryl Sampson. Darryl Sampson has played a marvelous game this afternoon at his left halfback position. He's closed down Ken Abraire for the most part this afternoon. You see him right here, right in his pocket, not allowing Abraire to run his route. He broke it off. Dillon had already put the ball in the air, and now they're going to be forced to punt once again. But the key thing in this punt is that they gained field position from the previous punt, and now this one, Winnipeg will really be back deep into their own territory.
Blaze Bryant has replaced Darryl Brown as one of the Winnipeg punt returners, along with Alan Boyko. Osbaldiston stands at midfield. A good kick. Boyko takes it at the 3. Boyko comes to the sidelines, and he's stopped as he gets up to the 18-yard line. That's where Winnipeg will scrimmage when we return.
Dreams. Not just for yourself, but more for your kids.
Yeah, hoping the future will be okay and they'll be happy.
sharing. You know, not seeing everything the same old way.
Yeah, like having an appreciation of how other people live.
Saying that's one thing. Meaning it? Well, that's another. Bank of Montreal. We're paying attention.
Great. But our customers will be watching.
I'm losing 21-17. Mostly because of this brick wall of a linebacker. Nothing gets past this guy. Nothing. So, last quarter, seconds left. Can't go through, can't go around, gotta go over. Bomb! It was a long bomb! Ah! Touchdown! 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 Boy, I love this game. I really love it.
Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy. I bit her. I kicked her. Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy.
I see these children as communicating their pain.
Bad boy. Bad boy.
He threatened me with the scissors the day that he was expelled from the school.
Bad boy. Bad boy.
Bad boy? Or a child looking for help?
I just wish that I was like a normal kid.
Our rural area is equipped to help kids with a bad attitude. Watch 24 Hours, Wednesday at 6.
Sammy Garza has completed better than 50% of his passes, but James, you have commented a couple of times that he seems to have a different throwing motion at various times.
He came out that last series and he really aired it out. And sometimes when you do that, you get that strain, you get that soreness, that pop, because after that, the next pass that he came to throw, watch his throwing motion once again. He drops it way down sidearm. He doesn't get anything on the pass.
Winnipeg 1st and 10. The ball is at the 19-yard line for Richardson. And he's got a gain of about 8, maybe even 9. 9:26 remaining in the game.
Michael Richardson circling out of the backfield. A very safe pass for Sammy Garza. You get him circling out to the left of the formation. Get him isoed on a linebacker. But once again, watch Garza's delivery. Way low sidearm down, and the ball is just fluttering out there. He's not getting much on it. I have to question his arm strength right now at this juncture of the ball game.
Well, it is a difficult injury for a quarterback to come back from a rotator cuff surgery.
You know, when you're playing in the warm elements, real football weather, you know, it's much easier to stay loose. But when you get in this situation like we're in this afternoon, you stiffen up quite easily.
Measurement reveals it's 2nd and a yard for Winnipeg, and Richardson is going to get it and more. Terry Wright initially stopped the Winnipeg running back. He hasn't had many games this year where he's had more than 20 carries. Last year in the Eastern Final, he lugged the ball 33 times for his 227 yards.
Well, Todd Dillon right there on the sideline, a little worried about his second half performance because he hasn't showed any signs of consistency, and his delivery motion has not been of best. His elbow could be flaring up from an injury he had 2 weeks ago.
Wide open is Wilcox. There's a penalty flag in the play as well. Bobby Dawson trying to wrap up the Winnipeg slot back, and he brings him down. Depending on the penalty call, it should be a Winnipeg first down.
Well, he got that ball away quite quickly, and it's going to get an offsides against Winnipeg, and generally that comes from one of those slot backs trying to get that running start towards the line of scrimmage.
Offside. Number 7 on the offense. First down and 10.
Alfred Jackson was offside. He may have actually lined up offside.
And normally when a receiver gets out there, he checks with the official, and the official will generally line him up whether you're onside or not. That time he probably didn't check down, and he found himself in that neutral zone, and it cost him a first down. It's going to be
8:20 remaining in the game with the clock running. 1st and 15, Winnipeg. Garza for Wilcox, just beyond his reach.
Sammy Garza getting a little pressure up front from Ramel Andrews, who's had a good game this afternoon. He hasn't made the big plays, but he's been around the football. You see Wilcox sitting out here in the flat, and Sammy Garza once again with that sidearm delivery, and the ball is floating away. Corus Irvin's right here working against David Williams. If you recall, a couple of series ago, he beat him deep, caught him looking in the backfield. That time he stayed with him.
2nd and 15, Winnipeg. The ball just across the 30-yard line. Jackson was the man that Garza was looking for, and he wasn't able to haul it in front of Gary Wilcox. Dickerson. So Winnipeg is forced to send out the punting unit.
That ball went a little short that time. Sammy Garza once again. That throwing motion is a little low. That ball is wobbling as it's headed towards Jackson, and it just didn't get to his receiver. He just doesn't seem that comfortable. He's not throwing the ball very crisply, and that is a key.
End-over-end kick by Bob Cameron, and it is going to bounce to the sidelines, taken on the run by Mazzoli, and a penalty flag in the play. Probably another no yards call against Winnipeg after a 36-yard Bob Cameron punt.
It looks European, definitely European in style.
He hugs you, there's lots of room.
It's very inviting and comfortable.
Transversely mounted V6.
If I want to be by myself, I won't go upstairs and read. I will go for a drive. It would be a winding road, trees, mountains. There would have to be water.
I love the way this thing corners. Responses in this car are smooth. I could drive this car all day.
You just made a dream come true.
Occasionally, Subway will bring a group of sandwich artists here to China to show them something they won't see at Subway, a great big wall. That's because we're proud to create our sandwiches in the open, fresh before your eyes, so you can choose from a garden of fixins, thrill at the sight of baking bread, and watch the fine art of sandwich making, which leads to the best part of the Subway experience, lunch.
See your sandwich being made at Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
Now on to the Sahara to talk about oven temperature.
Gotta tell you about the SaskTel long-distance windfall call contest. Keep track of your long-distance calls. When you've made 5, send them into Win. Or order one of these SaskTel long-distance savings plans. You could win a new Pontiac Grand Am. Or one of 2 Macintosh computers from Apple. Or one of hundreds of great prizes from SaskTel. Make every call count with the SaskTel long-distance windfall call contest. Entry forms in your mail or at SaskTel Telemarts.
Well, if you've just joined us, I'm Don Whitman along with James Curry and Scott Oak at Winnipeg Stadium as the Hamilton Ticats lead the Winnipeg Blue Bombers by 5 points with 7:40 remaining in the fourth quarter. And immediately following this game, we'll be switching to McMahon Stadium in Calgary for the Western Final. Chris Cuthbert, Dan Kepley, and Mark Lee are there to describe the game between the Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Eskimos. Hamilton with the ball, 1st and 10 from the 49. Hand off to Donnell. He fumbled the ball. Winnipeg claims they've got it.
Paul Randolph stepping up. Donnell once again losing his concentration on a handoff. Feast the famine. And we've seen it twice this afternoon. A simple off-tackle play. He just doesn't take the handoff. Paul Randolph coming in from his will linebacker position untouched. As he gets there, the ball just comes right to him as Donnell runs past it. Big play for the Bombers defense. You'll see Dillon as he sticks the ball out. Donnell is just looking upfield. He's not concentrating on the football. And the poorest thing about it, he makes no effort in trying to recover it.
Hand off to Richardson. Richardson battles his way inside the 40-yard line. Dejected Dave Donnell sits at the Hamilton bench. He scored a touchdown earlier in the ball game, and now he's being consoled by his mates, but a couple of fumbles could prove very costly for this young running back.
In a very critical situation with 6.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
And off again to Richardson. This time he gets some room and has a first down inside the 30-yard line.
Michael Richardson is doing what Dave Donnell didn't do. He's following his blockers. Chris Johnstone and Chris Walby did a fine job on a counter block coming from your right here. You get Walby and Johnstone kicking out on the end and the linebacker, and Richardson cuts up in the seam and picks up the first down.
23 carries for 99 yards for Richardson, intended for Wilcox, and Wilcox got turned around as he was bumping with Bobby Dawson. It will be 2nd and 10. Wilcox has scored the lone Winnipeg touchdown. A third down gamble in the opening quarter paid off.
Well, you see Michael Richardson, not only does he run the ball, but he blocks very well for his quarterback. He gets that shoulder right down in the gut of Terry Wright and stands him up perfectly. Wilcox gets turned around as he's trying to go to that football. That ball is just floating, that sidearm release, not putting much on it. The wind caught it and pushed it to the inside as the wind is swirling around here in Winnipeg Stadium.
Jackson goes wide left, Williams to the right. All sorts of time. The pass dumped off to Wilcox. He fumbles the ball. And Winnipeg is very fortunate. Brett McNeil came over to grab the loose football.
Very fortunate at that incident. The offensive line gave Sammy all day long to find an open receiver, and eventually he had to check down to Wilcox out in the left flat. Wilcox was there. He got the ball to him in time. He turned upfield, and Jackson came up and just leveled him with that shoulder right in the gut, knocked the ball loose. But Brett McNeil, hustling from his guard position, able to recover the fumble.
A 43-yard field goal attempt for Troy Westwood. It's good. With 5:24 remaining, it's a 2-point ball game. Hamilton leading Winnipeg in the Eastern Final.
I don't think many of the experts coming into the game thought that we would see a game like this, a stern defensive matchup. And the Hamilton Ticats, regardless of the outcome of this game, that they can feel proud about the showing that they've had this afternoon. Perfect spot by Bob Cameron, a longtime holder here in Winnipeg. Troy Westwood hammers it right through the uprights, turns around, congratulates his holder. Two guys that have done that quite often throughout their career.
Well, John Moulton said last year we came to Winnipeg talking a big game and ended up getting embarrassed. This year, it's going to be less talk and more action. Joey Yock on the receiving end of the Dillon throw for a first down up at the 49.
Well, that time Todd Dillon bought himself some extra time. Joey Yock been his favorite receiver in coming into this afternoon's game, his 2 games previous with the Ticats this year for Dillon. Finding that soft spot about 12 yards downfield, bringing it in for the first down.
First and 10. Hamilton at the Winnipeg at their own 49-yard line. Donnell, the ball carrier, and he's straightened up after a pickup of about 2.
Well, his running style, he runs straight up. When you look at Dave Donnell, he really doesn't get cradled over the football, and he leaves that football exposed on a very often regular basis. And that time he was fortunate that one of those linebackers didn't draw that one loose.
Crowd trying to get involved in the ball game with the clock running as we approach the 4-minute mark. Dillon is forced to pull it down. Dillon throws and he's intercepted. Kim Phillips comes up with the football. Penalty flag on the play. Earl Winfield got involved over on the far side of the field with Darrell Sampson. Kim Phillips intercepted, and Winfield was really upset. He felt he had been interfered with.
Looked like he might have been knocked off strides. We're going to get a clipping call on Bobby Evans after the interception, which is going to cost him 15 yards. But great play on the interception to stop this drive.
Illegal block. Number 33 on Winnipeg after the interception. 10-yard penalty. First down, Winnipeg.
Well, Kim Phillips is working one-on-one against Earl Winfield. They got tangled up out there in that right flat. Winfield went down. Phillips made the break on the football. You'll see Evans right there with the clip on Yock in the back. It was clearly a clip, and officials caught it.
But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers retain possession, and they have it 1st and 10 at their own 34-yard line.
With 3:40 remaining in the football game, a very important drive for young Sammy Garsden. He needs to bring his team down to at least field goal range for Troy Westwood.
For David Williams, he can't hang on.
David Williams, Sammy Garza puts this one right where it needs to, right to David Williams. David working one-on-one. He breaks back to the football out there. Garza gets it out there. Plenty of time in front of Bobby Dawson and Corus Irvin. He just dropped it. Don, we have not seen Gerald Alfin for about 3 quarters in this football game. He had 2 catches early. Sammy Garza has not looked this direction in some time. He might be a guy that you want to consider in one of these situations.
Well, will this game come down to where that man could decide it? Troy Westwood. He's been perfect so far today. Alfin, the receiver, and Todd Wiseman arrived at the same time and jarred the ball loose when it appeared as though Alfin was going to make a big catch.
Well, Gerald Alfin had been lulling the defensive backs to sleep, and that time he was able to come down. They had tripped right. He was the wide man in that situation. He came down one-on-one against Royal. He breaks it off towards the middle. He had been released. Todd Wiseman, though, playing center field like you expect your free safety, and puts that crushing blow right in the ribs. You'll see him here cut underneath Wilcox. Wright was very fortunate he didn't get called for illegal contact downfield.
Third down kick by Cameron, fielded by Burbage, and he is stopped in his tracks at the 37. A 42-yard kick by Bob Cameron. 2:58 remains.
Welcome, sports fans, to the Pizza Hut Pizza Playoff. It's your choice of East versus West in this battle for your appetite. Representing the East, the deal of the season. 2 medium pepperoni pizzas for only $15.99. Going head-to-head with the West, a formidable lineup of 2 medium cheese lover plus pizzas featuring a 3-cheese blend with any 2 toppings, also only $15.99. With great choices like these, it's anybody's ball game. East or West, choose your side only at Pizza Hut.
Ah, the pitter-patter of little feet. Maybe it's time for a family car. Never fear. The 94 Cutlass Supreme. Anti-lock brakes, driver's side, airbag, remote trunk release, and plenty of room. Say family car. A 3.1-liter, 160 horsepower V6 says maybe not. In a Cutlass Supreme, you can still hear the call of the open road, as well as, exactly.
Gold. Pure gold. Solid 24-karat gold. The Royal Canadian Mint presents the Gold Maple Leaf, sold throughout the world in a size to suit almost every budget. Starting at around $40, almost everyone can now own gold. The Gold Maple Leaf, perfect for you or for someone you treasure. Call now, 1-800-268-GOLD. This year, give a leaf instead. Give the Gold Maple Leaf.
Well, the Hamilton defense will claim that they've done their job. Now it's up to the offense. A couple of first downs desperately required right here by the Ticats.
Could be the most critical series all year long for the Ticats offense. Todd Dillon needs to get at least 2 first downs if he expects to run enough time off the clock not to allow Hamilton to come back down the field and score.
He's been able to pass for 170 yards so far this afternoon. He tried to dump it off. It falls short of Lee Knights. 2nd and 10. Well, John Gregory all year complained about the fact that he didn't have a quarterback who could really take charge. He was hoping the man standing beside him would do just that, Don McPherson, but McPherson struggled throughout the year. And finally, late in the season, Gregory was able to persuade Todd Dillon, whom he expected to have at training camp, to return to the team. Dillon's in some trouble, trying to dump it off, knocked away by Bobby Evans, intended for Joey Yock.
Very fortunate in that incident, Don. I mean, Bobby Evans played that perfectly as Joey Yock came back into the middle. Bobby Evans was right there in his hip pocket as Dillon was trying to find the time. You see Yock cut in front. Evan cuts in front of him. The ball hits him on the back shoulder pad, but very fortunate break right there. Alfred Payton, who has been held in check for the most part this afternoon, is right there once again, came up short.
Osbaldiston needs a good punt here. 2:39 remaining. The clock will not start until the ball is snapped. This one is caught by the wind, and it comes back to the line of scrimmage, takes a good bounce. No yards, the call against Hamilton. At ball could have bounced back towards the line of scrimmage, but it bounced forward right into the arms of Alan Boyko, and he had 3 Ticats trapped within the 5-yard area.
Well, it got up in that wind, a nice tight spiral, only 18 yards on the punt.
No yards. Number 33 on the kicking team, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Well, in Calgary today, these are the conditions the Stampeders and Eskimos will play in the West Division Final. Of course, Calgary hosts the Grey Cup next week, and the reality is that for 8 months, Calgary's been hoping the Stampeders will be in the game. Now it comes down to a game on a terrible field, so the game could be decided on luck. But it's Edmonton against Calgary in the West Final, and we'll go there as soon as the decision is final here in Winnipeg.
And which team, Hamilton or Winnipeg, will be going against either Calgary or Edmonton in the Grey Cup? Richardson carries to the 42.
Michael Richardson churning up the yardage when it's needed the most. Right now, they're in Troy Westwood field goal range. You can expect them to keep it on the ground as he runs right up behind that big offensive line that he has in front of him.
Richardson now has 107 yards, and as we said at the start, trying to stop Michael Richardson would be the task facing the Hamilton defense today. It's Richardson again. I think now the Blue Bombers quite content to keep it on the ground because they feel that they are within the field goal range of Troy Westwood.
Well, with Troy Westwood, you're seeing right here with a career long of 55. He's sitting there cradling the ball, keeping those legs warm up. He hit 80% of his field goals during the regular season, so he feels quite comfortable if he has the opportunity to put a game-winning field goal up in the air and through the uprights.
Westwood finished second in CFL scoring behind Mark McLaughlin of Calgary. Johnstone, the ball carrier, and that's his first carry of the day as he fights his way to the 36-yard line.
Well, he didn't carry the ball that often during the regular season, only had 18 rushes during the regular season, but right there going off tackle, picking up 2 yards on the play, trying to line it up for Troy Westwood.
Johnson made the All-Star team this year, and he was selected because of his skills as a blocking back.
He is a very accomplished blocking fullback, one of the top 2 in the CFL.
2nd and 7. Garza throws inside for Gerald Wilcox. First down, Winnipeg.
Caught the Ticat defense by surprise. Gerald Wilcox working on the quick slant against Bobby Dawson. Spins around, gets open inside. Garza delivers the football, picks up the first down. They came up with no backs in the backfield. Everyone thought that Garza might be keeping it on a boot. He found Wilcox.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the Hamilton 27-yard line. Richardson, the ball carrier. Richardson drives to the 20. The Bombers, as I mentioned earlier, won the toss to start the game. They deferred their choice until the second half, opted to have the wind at their back in the 4th quarter when the defense prevented Hamilton from putting points on the board in the 3rd quarter with the wind. Winnipeg now has a chance to win with 1 minute remaining. Richardson, the ball carrier again, and he's inside the 15. First down, Bombers.
And right now you're looking at basically an extra point for Troy Westwood, who has nailed all of them this season. Michael Richardson behind this big dominant offensive line of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are just creating a new line of scrimmage on every snap, is churning out the yardage. He's picking up 5, 6, 7 yards of carry every time he touches the football.
You know, it was just a year ago that Cal Murphy returned home to Winnipeg after undergoing heart transplant surgery. He was here for the Eastern Final. Conditions were much more comfortable then for Cal Murphy and the Blue Bombers as they romped to a 59-11 victory. But Cal is back in the sidelines this afternoon. Urban Bowman coached the team into the Grey Cup a year ago. A penalty call in the play. Terry Wright was offside. And timeout has been called.
Hold on.
23,000 plus fans at Winnipeg Stadium pumped for the final 30 seconds of the football game as the Bombers have the ball at the Hamilton 10-yard line.
And Sammy Garza has answered the call of all his critics. Can he quarterback in a big-time football game? I think he's silenced all those people this afternoon.
1st and 5, Winnipeg. Richardson. It's back to the line of scrimmage with 25 seconds remaining. And now the Bombers have called a timeout, or at least that's the signal Cal Murphy is trying to convey to his offensive unit. And now Sammy Garza is going to come over to confer with his head coach and father-in-law, and at the same time John Gregory is talking to several members of his defensive unit.
Well, and we're going to get Troy Westwood. He's going to come onto the field right now. They're not going to wait to 3rd down. They're going to go for it on 2nd down and 5 right here. And it's a good call to go for it here, because if you have a bad snap, bobble is the plant, you can fall on the ball and you still have one more down with some time remaining on the clock. And for Troy Westwood, he'll march right out there and nail this one right through the uprights.
Well, every kicker dreams of coming into a football game in the dying seconds with an opportunity to win a ball game. And Troy Westwood has that chance from the 17-yard line. He's 3 for 3 today. He's 4 for 4, and the Bombers lead it by 1. Seconds remaining, and the Bombers lead it 20-19 as Troy Westwood has enjoyed a perfect afternoon. 4 for 4 in the field goal department, 2 of them in this 4th quarter that have helped erase a 6-point halftime lead the Ticats enjoy.
Well, that 3rd quarter was very critical when the Winnipeg defense was able to hold Hamilton's offense without a point. And this has been the results of it. A 20-19 lead with 21 seconds to go.
Dillon is throwing deep for Winfield. It's knocked away, incomplete, and as Kim Phillips got over there to knock it down.
Well, that ball was underthrown, and Winfield had to turn into a defender on that play as Todd Dillon, throwing into a strong headwind, just couldn't get enough on that football to outthrow the coverage.
13 seconds remain. It's 2nd and 10 from the 35-yard line.
John Salavanis along with Coach Cal Murphy there on the sideline speaking about what this defensive play he called is.
4 receivers wide to the right. Dillon goes the other way for Burbidge. He makes the catch. He's got the ball at the Winnipeg 48-yard line with 7 seconds remaining. Don't go away, folks. This one isn't over.
And Todd Dillon utilizing Cornell Burbidge here, the forgotten receiver for the most part this afternoon. Now he needs to pick up about 15 yards over the middle to have a chance.
Joey Yock makes the catch, and he's taken out of bounds at the 38-yard line with 1 second remaining.
1 second to go, and Osbaldiston has been in this situation before.
Osbaldiston has been in pressure situations in the past where he has been asked to deliver a winning kick on the final play of a football game. But the conditions here are considerably different than what he has experienced in the past. But if there's a kicker capable of delivering, Paul Osbaldiston is the man.
Well, he was in a similar situation last year in the Eastern semifinal when he had to go against Hamilton and kick a winning field goal in the ice.
This will be a 45-yard attempt for Paul Osbaldiston. He is kicking into the wind, and in warm-up, he had a great deal of difficulty trying to kick into the wind from inside the 40-yard line.
Hamilton is going to take a timeout right now. The officials just signaled they took a timeout. I don't think they had one to take.
So the game has come down to this. Paul Osbaldiston trying to win it for Hamilton. A 45-yard kick into the wind. High snap. There's the kick. It's going to fall short. And now Winnipeg's concern is simply to cover up. The Bombers do it, and they will be going to the Grey Cup. 2019, the Bombers defeat the Hamilton Ticats to advance to next Sunday's Grey Cup game against either the defending champion Calgary Stampeders or the Edmonton Eskimos. Bitter disappointment for John Gregory, but what a valiant effort by his Hamilton Ticats.
The Hamilton Ticats can walk away with their heads held high this afternoon. It's a bitter pill to swallow when you lose the Eastern Final, but the way they have been manhandled throughout the season by this Bomber football team and the way they came out and showed pride and courage this afternoon with only a 1-point loss, they can be proud about this.
I'm in the middle of I'd like to try and ask the fans for their indulgence, but it won't do any good. Cal, just a quick word from you. I know that you thought all week that Hamilton was the force to be reckoned with. They proved it today.
They certainly have, and I'll tell you what, I think everybody was treated to a heck of a football game under these weather conditions, and
how about these conditions?
I think we've got it worse than the ball players.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Cal, for your time. It's uncontrollable down here, Don, so up to you. Scott, I think everyone's attracted by the hat. We'll be back after this.
Gotta tell you about...
Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium, where a single-point victory has sent the Bombers to the Grey Cup game next week. We searched for the principals, and Miles Gorell was the only guy big enough to get to this crowd to come and join us here to give us some post-game reaction. Miles, how about it? The Ticats gave you all they could handle, all you could handle today.
Definitely. I'm proud of the Ticats for the way they played. This is Canadian football at its best. You're not going to see a better game. The conditions are against everybody. And this is a wonderful game, and Scott, I like the hat.
Well, thank you very much. The lid's nice, and weather like this, I want to tell you. How about Troy Westwood's winning field goal, quickly?
That's where the stick man came through. He's got a great leg, and let's just go out and have some fun next week in Cowtown. That's my hometown. See you guys all there. I like to say hi to my mom and dad down in Mesa, Arizona.
All right, Miles, we'll see you in Calgary. So the Bombers have now won 11 of their last 12 games. Today's victory sends them to Calgary and to their 4th Grey Cup appearance in 6 years, and I'd say that says it all about this organization. Bombers are one half of the Grey Cup field. Now let's find out which is the second half. Here's Mark Lee in Calgary.
Thanks, Scott. The Alberta Clipper is blowing through Calgary. Whiteouts and wind chills and clement weather battering McMahon Stadium for the Western Final today. In the West, the division final brings out the good, the bad, and the ugly in a bitter rivalry. This is their high noon. The Battle of Alberta, a time-honored classic. In the 50s and 60s, Edmonton's Jackie Parker scrambled his way into CFL folklore. In the 70s, Peter Lisk was a matinee idol, shooting up defenses with his quick silver release. The 90s have brought last-minute drama. 2 years ago, Pee Wee Smith's 66-yard touchdown with 1 minute and 2 seconds to play gave Calgary a come-from-behind win. 1 year later, Doug Flutie drives the Stampeders 77 yards in the final 77 seconds. Losing a shoe.